Greetings, family. We're just going to go ahead and get ready to get started because it is, we got 1 minute-ish. Okay. All right. My name is Cassandra-Floyd, also known as the Daughter of the Fates. Oh, let me open my document. Dang. Let's see. Nope. 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 There we go. Okay. We're going to get ready to recite the conspiracy to right all wrongs now. We are the breakers of curses, the casters of glorious conspiracies, and the creators of the new world. I, Cassandra-Floyd, am a divine instrument of my mother's divine will. As such, I am protected and guided by the sacred blood and water of my mother's body that anointed my entry into this life. I am divine because she is divine. Mommy and I are one. I call on our mothers to this moment. I call on she who governs everything, all time and every space in between. She with 1,000 names, today it is Oya, the usheress of the new age. Mommy and I are one. I call upon the divine ancestors and the ashe of every mother on earth to break every curse cast upon the mother and her children in all timelines and in every dimension. Mommy and I are one. We, the mother's divine children, conspire together today to forever bind those who have or would harm you, great mother. Mommy and I are one. We conspire today to destroy everyone in every timeline and dimension that has caused suffering and despair. Mommy and I are one. Today, we embody the sacred and divine power of our mother. Today, we the tree, we the weavers, rewrite all time. We the tree, we the weavers, rewrite the book of life. We, our mother's children, call the winds of change. We conjure the primordial dark. We summon the sacred serpent deep from within the earth. We subdue the rogue sun. We control the light. We heal the harmed. We embolden the fearful. We instill courage. Today, we are staging a global evolution as is our mother's divine will. Mommy and I are one. We ecstatically welcome the radical destruction of all institutions of hate and harm erected by the godheads of war. Mommy and I are one. We have the power. We have the voice. We are the portals of change. We give life and sacred blood to this conspiracy. Mommy and I are one. We command, come the wind, come the storm, come the lightning, capture all godheads of war and all betrayers of the mother's divine will. Bring them in their confusion and war to an end. Scatter them to oblivion, never to be resurrected. This is the time of reckoning, reclamation, and the restoration of heaven on earth under the mother's divine reign. Love unlimited is our destiny. Harmony unlimited is our destiny. Ecstasy is our destiny. Pleasure is our destiny. Freedom is our destiny. This is her divine will. We are the divine executors of her will. We speak her will into the now to reverberate through all time, all space, and all dimensions. It is certainly as we say, forever and ever, Mommy and I are one. Mommy and I are one. Mommy and I are one. Okay. Ooh, you know what? I did not even realize what I had done. Dang, y'all probably didn't even see me. Did y'all see me? Did y'all hear me? Dang, I forgot to double up my screen. Okay. Hopefully y'all heard me. Hopefully y'all saw me. Probably not. Yeah, I don't know. Yeah, you good? Y'all heard me at least? I don't know if y'all saw me, but y'all heard me at least, right? Okay. Okay, let's see what we got going on here. Thank you, Jerika White, for the donation. All right. Okay. So, yeah, we got a lot to discuss today, and as per usual, I am going to attempt to be disciplined. I don't know how that's going to work out, but we shall see. Obviously, with the last several lives that I have done, though attempting to be disciplined, our mother has a lot to say in the moment. and we have to be willing to allow her to come through on the terms that she sets and comply in the moment. And I feel like that's what's been happening with these last few lives. I think the last live I did was like 9 hours long, and I didn't go to the belly dancing event because of the events of this weekend, which I am sure you guys have been paying attention to. I didn't participate in the belly dancing convention at all, though it was my intention. So, yeah. So anyway, um, because it, hold on. Okay, Forbidden One, thank you for the donation. GJP, Jolly on the spot. Thank y'all for the donations. Okay, so again, I am there's a lot that I want to talk to you about. I mean, I know I'm gonna have to narrow, right? But maybe oh, you know what? I did forget something. So let me go home and not forget the reading of the prophecy made by the Sibyls in approximately 150 CE, in approximately 150 CE. Thrice 300 years of having run their course of fulfillment, Rome, by the strife of her people, shall perish. Rome is doomed to perish, and that indeed by the judgment of God, because it held her name in hatred, and being the enemy of righteousness, it destroyed the people who kept the truth. There shall come to thee sometime from above a heavenly stroke deserved, O haughty Rome, and thou shalt be the first to bend thy neck and be raised to the ground, and and thee shall fire destructive utterly consume, cast down upon thy pavements, and thy wealth shall perish, and wolves and foxes dwell in thy foundations, and then shalt thou be wholly desolate as if not born. Woo! Yes, yes, yes. And then lastly, the global conspiracy of the Temple of Evolutionary Emergence. I, Cassandra-Floyd, as a peculiar expression of the Almighty Divine She, the Great Cosmic Mother, now join in breath with my global family to conspire on behalf of the whole made well. We are breathing these words together to ensure that our home, her body, is restored to her original perfect glory. Her glory is perfect in peace, love, bliss, happiness, and ecstasy. This world exists because we collectively will it so now. We, as the representatives of the Mother's reign on earth, speak this beautiful conspiracy as a single cosmic earthly orchestra to guarantee heaven on earth in joyful compliance with our Mother's divine will. Possessing the power of our mothers, we speak this glorious future now. It is certainly as we say, Mommy and I are one. So let's see what we got going on here. Thank you so much, Curry Butter, for your donation, my dear. Let's see, I haven't missed anybody, it doesn't look like. Okay, so there's several things that we need to get into. Greetings, everybody. How y'all doing? Everybody. Love that, love that, love that. Okay. So let me just do a few things. I'm trying to tell you, 9 hour, as a matter of fact, it was 9 hours, 36 minutes and 30 seconds, the last live that I've done, and still didn't get to what I have been attempting and trying to get to literally for the last week. And every time I pull out my notes, okay, today is the day, and some come up, and today ain't the day. Today is the day because it's the first thing that we're going to talk about before we get into anything else. This is the commitment I have made to y'all and to myself. Okay. So, first of all, I pulled a card for the temple. Okay. I pulled this card a week ago. And literally every time I went live, I was like, ooh, I got to share this card with the temple because it is so absolutely perfect for the moment that we are in. And every single solitary day at the end of a 5 hour, 7 hour, 9 hour thing, I'm like, oh, I forgot the card. And one day I was like, well, it has been several days. Maybe I should pull another card. And every time I tried to pull a card, it was like, nope, don't pull another card. This the card, right? So I'm gonna do this first, and then the same day I pulled that magnanimous card that I'm going to share with you now, I picked up a book among many, because I told you the really bad habit that I have is I will buy, literally, not figuratively, scores of books, just so I can have them in the event that sometime in the near future I can read from these books. Ask me how many of these books that I've even cracked the spine open on, right? But this one particular day that I pulled this one particular card that I'm about to share with y'all, I saw this book like loud amidst the many that I haven't even cracked spine open. And I just said, okay, something got to be up in here for us. Let me just crack it open and see where my finger land. And that's what I'm going to read. And what I pulled out of this book that I haven't read anything else in this book until that day, I was like, this is something, this is a word. This is a word for the temple. So those things, that's what we're going to start on today. So I don't have to make excuses about why I haven't got to it, and they've been sitting in my face for a week. Okay, so the card that I pulled a week ago that has been literally the thorn in my side, right, is so I read from what is called the Medicine Woman Inner Guide book and deck, right, and so we have been reading from this deck exclusively since I don't know, 4 years, 3 years, 4 years, something like that. Now, I personally have been reading from the deck since 2015, but sharing it with you, doing like little live reads for the temple every once in a blue moon for about 3-4 years, right? So today I'm gonna share with you this one card that you know what? Let me go turn my fan on because it's hot. It's a big hit. All right. So let me go ahead and share this card with you guys quickly, and then share this little reading from this book that I'm going to share with you quickly, and then we'll get on to some other topics of discussion that I feel like today in particular are pressing for us. Okay, so the card is called the exemplar of the arrows. So I'm going to show IG first, so you can take a look at the card, take a look at the really small details of what's happening in the card. Share that with you. Share that with. It's always, yep, there we go. Right? So look at the details. You see the buffalo spirit kind of in the back. You see in the lap what looks like almost kind of a quilt with images on it that look old or ancient. You see little ancestors and, like cave kind of drawings, right? Just thick people doing different things, animal images. You see the woman who really looks like Oshun, and this suit, the suit of arrows, which is synonymous with the swords in the traditional deck. This particular suit, this black woman dressed in gold, is she is in every card in the suit of arrows. She is the main focus of the entire suit of the arrows. And here she is, it looks like she is mentoring or teaching this little baby. Okay, this is called the exemplar of the arrow. So this would be synonymous with the King of Swords. Okay, all right. So this card, so one of the things that I love about this suit is, first of all, anytime you get a reading from the traditional tarot, right? Everybody dreads the suit of swords. Everybody dreads the suit of swords because we automatically believe that the suit of swords is bad news, right? And I've told you that even though I possess a traditional deck, that as many times as I've tried to pull it out and like, you know, um, be in it, that for me, the the very extraordinarily damn, it's hot. Okay, hold on. Work. Um, can't find a big one, but let me try to pull my hair off my neck. This is the first day that it's been actually like summer hot in LA, and so even my hair on my back is like causing me to sweat. Okay, all right. So what I was saying was, even though I have attempted many times to like sit with my traditional deck, I think that I don't think that. I think, well, I know that my rejection, my immediate rejection of this deck is because of the extraordinarily patriarchal images in the deck, the patriarchal interpretation and the patriarchal images in the deck that my spirit never set right with, even when I was only attempting to use the tarot as a personal aura, as a personal oracle, never intending to read for anyone else, using the oracle for my own self growth and development and that kind of thing. The traditional deck never sat right with me. I have many decks. Okay, I have many decks. I don't know, maybe 11 11 decks, because I was always looking for that deck that felt like, I don't know, like felt familiar to me. Felt like, oh, thank you. You understand? Thank you. Yes. Made those. Show did. So anyway, always looking for a deck that instantly felt familiar or resonated with me. And so the deck that I read from, the medicine woman deck, I found at a little botanica. It was a Yamaya Botanica in St. Petersburg, Florida, literally the same week that I left Florida for good to what I didn't know I was going to be moving to California, but to make my journey across the country to California. I found this deck. I was like, do you have any tarot decks? She said, girl, I only have one deck left in the whole place. She was like, it's got white images in it, but I've gotten a lot of feedback from the deck. So I was like, now mind you, I'm still a black nationalist. So I was like, oh, I don't know, white people in the deck. And so I saw the deck, couldn't open the deck because it was, all wrapped up or whatever. But it said the medicine woman inner guide deck. I was like, you know what? I take it. Right. And so I bought the deck. And when I said, and the book and the deck were created, I believe, in 1972. You know what? Let me see. I think it was 72. It's not, the publishing date is not in the book itself, but I believe I saw when I was looking it up. Oh shoot, the back is gone. What the heck? Oh, there it is. I believe it said 1972. Okay. I believe it said 72. It's not on the book anywhere. But the creator of the book is Carol Bridges. Carol Bridges, The Medicine Woman in a Guidebook. Okay. Now, I'm prefacing this way because this suit, the exemplar of the arrows, what I love about this suit, because again, it is synonymous with the swords in the traditional deck. Swords in the traditional deck typically mean bad news, watch out, that kind of shit, right? Well, in this deck, the arrows, they do offer like warnings, but not warnings in a bad way. Things to look out for as potentialities with this energy, right? And that if you recognize what potentialities can occur if you are not present, if you are not conscious, right? Then these are the potentialities, both good and both bad, if you are not present. The other thing is that the arrows, which she presents as a like I forget what you call it when you take and you can get other words out of a word by mixing the letters up. I forget what you call that. But anyway, the arrow suit in her mind is synonymous with words. I mean, let's see, arrows, shoot, arrows. What did she say? Whatever. It's synonymous with basically, hold on, let me see. Let me not guess what she said. Oh, arrows. Okay. So the arrows, it's not the mixing of the words. Arrows in her deck, because again, the arrows is synonymous with swords in the traditional deck. Swords can be mixed up to spell words. Your words can become swords. Your words can function as swords, and that depends upon the energy of the person holding this tool. The tool can be to protect, to defend. The tool can be a tool of aggression intended to do harm. You feel me? So your words become synonymous in their use to swords, you see? And so what she focuses a lot on, because the other thing that she talks about in the introduction of the arrow suit is about the fact that where do our words emanate from? Oh my God. Let me tell you about my study today and how fucking on time this is. That our words, where do our words emanate from? Oh my God. Yo, I'm gonna have to do a digression. Where do our words emanate from? In every culture, in every belief, everywhere on earth, that our words emanate from our heart. Branch because our tongue is rooted in the heart. And so everything that flowers from this relationship between the root of the tongue and heart, everything that springs forth is supposed to be a communication of the truth of our heart, meaning the truth of our intentions. This is what she talks about a lot in this suit, is about how words, just like arrows, okay? Just like arrows, words are loosed. You understand? Words are loosed from our mouth, and depending upon what is in our heart is going to determine the target through which that arrow is loosed. Is going, whatever is the truth in our heart is going to determine whether those loosed words are meant to do harm or whether those loosed words are meant to help and heal and defend and protect and all of those things, right? So I have to pull out a book and some notes because I'm telling you, my study for today, without intention, is so linked up in what we're about to talk about. Okay, so one thing I want you to take away from that, right, is that the arrows, though synonymous with the suit of swords in the traditional deck, because this is the medicine woman deck, there are no doom and gloom cards in this deck. That doesn't mean that this deck is foolishly optimistic. It means that what the mother interprets about the world is vastly and wildly different, actually antithetical to the interpretation of the world as coming through the male lens. Do you understand? That's all that means. And so she's like, look, baby, you need, in the suit of arrows, she still says, This is the good of this card, but you must be mindful about how you loose your words. What is the intention for which you are loosing your words in the world? You understand what I'm saying? Be mindful of how you cast when you open your mouth. You understand? And so the reason that this is important is this card that I pulled, the exemplar of the arrows. The exemplar is synonymous with the King of Swords. The reason I love that she calls the exemplar, she calls, God damn, hold on. Damn, hold on. I got to take a note. Damn. Oh my God. Oh shit, chat. Oh, come on, man. Come on. Damn. Man. Whoa. Okay, so the reason that this becomes important to distinguish between, again, the patriarchal language and archetypal images of the king and the queen and the page and the in the knight and all. Oh my God. Yeah. Oh my God, I cannot believe this shit. And all of those images is because, again, those hierarchical images presented in the traditional tarot are strictly and solely from the perspective of the quote king who sits on high above all others. One. Two, that his worldview as the king who sits up on high above all others is always going to be skewed. You feel me? And so the interpretation doesn't, the king's view interpretation of the world does not have the ability to be harmonious. It's impossible. It's impossible. It's impossible. And so I was just having a moment I'll go back to later so I can go ahead and get into this card for you. But in this same deck, which I love so much, and I love the fact that the king is called the exemplar. Why is the king in this suit called the exemplar? Huh? Because the king doesn't have to set the example. Look, historically, the king does not and is not required to set an example for how his quote subjects must live. He doesn't have to set an example for how his subjects must behave. He can set the terms for how everybody else behaves and do exactly the opposite, because bitch, I'm the king. You understand? This ain't for all y'all to do because I'm up on high. You feel me? I am not like y'all. So I don't have to do what I demand of you. I don't have to do what I command of you. The rules that I set for you do not apply to me. And that's why you have this malignant totalitarian relationship between quote kings and emperors of the past, and how that looks so vastly different than the way of life of the subjects for which they were supposed to govern. You feel me? That's why I like the fact that the king energy in this deck, right, is called the exemplar. It's called the exemplar because that which I set forward as the way to go, as the way to be, as the way that is guaranteed to establish harmonious relationships, no matter what our title, no matter what our presentation in the world is, that me as the exemplar, and I tell y'all this all the time, that I will, first of all, will not ask of you what I don't actively do in real time right this minute. I ain't gonna ask you to do some shit that I have never done or am not prepared to do in real time as a way to demonstrate how this is a better way than the way we quote always done it or what have you. That's why I love this. I love the exemplar whenever it comes up, is because even by calling it the exemplar, the energy is completely antithetical to the images that we've always seen about what it means to be a leader, what it means to be a governor, what it means to be a president, like this one week right now, what it means to be a queen or a king or anybody else who sees themselves as better than everybody else. You feel me? The moment that I had, and then I swear I'm gonna get into this card, is because in this suit, the queen, the energy of the queen is always called the Lodge. The card that always represents, I have got full body chills even saying this shit out loud. Because the wormhole that I went in today in preparation for this live, you understand, was totally in alignment with me preparing to tell y'all about one card that I pulled for the temple a week ago and have been neglecting all week to tell you what came down in this motherfucking card. And then the card, not even thinking about it, based on the damn wormhole, I literally just raised the fuck up out of it before I came up on here. And it is like so in alignment. The queen card in this suit is always called the Lodge. And so based on whatever suit she is in, you know, the Lodge of the Stones, the Lodge of the Arrows, the Lodge of the Pipes, or the Lodge of the Bowls, the queen's energy is always the Lodge. The reason I'm having a whole ass goddamn moment, child, is because not only in my deep dive today, but the last 9-hour live that I did for y'all, when I talk about Jesus coming back for the church, Jesus coming back for, quote, his bride, Jesus, and then how the man and the woman and the child represent Jesus, the king, you feel me? And his wife represents the church, who is faceless and nameless and unimportant, except for the fact that she is the vessel through which the king comes and goes. That's the only significance. He is born through the church, aka the temple, aka the uterus, and he can return as he sees fit to lay divine seed. So he can, when he's in his fleshly existence, he can have sex with his wife, who is the church. She is a faceless, nameless building whose sole importance is her ability to create the divine seed, to provide a safe space for the divine seed to germinate, you feel me, until his entry into the world, and this vessel through which he can return after his fleshly presentation in the form of his penis, entering into the doors of the church for either pleasure or the laying of more divine seed, right? Remember me telling y'all that in that last live that I did? And so how the, quote, temple, how the, quote, lodge in traditional Chinese medicine, how what? The lower palace, right? The uterus, right? Where, quote, divine presence can come, take, and be provided for in the what do they call it? The lower palace. The lower palace that houses the emperor until he is born. You feel me? That's traditional Chinese medicine, right? How in so many cultures, the archetype for the quote divine feminine is reduced to her capacity to give birth to some sacred male, right? That's her importance. You understand? And so in this moment, and I'm looking at this great deck that I love so much, created in 1972, and that even, I'm sure it was not her intention, that even she equated the divine feminine archetypal energy of the queen, she reduced to the lodge, to the building. Anyway, I digress. But damn, that just fell on me hard. Woo, cha, goddamn. Anyway, let's talk about this card. The Exemplar of the Eras, which is one of my probably 3 favorite cards in this deck. I'm going to read this card to you and then we can talk about it. But the card's name is called the Master Storyteller. The Master Storyteller. So for those of you who rolled up in here a little bit late, I'll show you the card again, because like I said, the entire suit of arrows is always centering around this black woman who looked like Oshun and is always dressed like Oshun. She is always in yellow. Now, this deck was written by a white woman in 1972. So I don't know if this was her intention, if she knew anything about Oshun or whatever, but baby, this is the only suit where she is featured front and center in every single card. The suit of the arrows. The suit of the arrows. This is her personification in this card that is entitled the Master Storyteller. The Master Storyteller. Oh, let me show it to y'all again, who may have come up on the click late. The Master Storyteller. Okay. All right. So I'm gonna read the card to you first, and then we're gonna talk about the card. Um, yeah, that's it. Okay. So each of the minor arcana is prefaced by a prayer. So I'm going to read the prayer and the lesson. The prayer for this card is: once upon a time, I lived a warrior's life. I strived, I sought, I conquered my fears. I saved the lives of others who were fearful by helping them to be brave. Listen, and all the way, I enjoyed myself. Listen. So I am here to talk about it. Hear my stories, and you will learn my warrior's way. Listen to my life, and you will find the way that is your own to travel. For I am kind and can see all ways. I have risen up high to the sky, and I soar with eagles to watch you. I have dug into the soil of my own soul and grown. I have traveled by instinct to journey's end and floated in peace in the night. My eyes are above the world, but my stories are in it. Thus, I can teach, and my words will be beautiful. That's the prayer. The lesson for this card, child, my whole body is buzzing. The exemplar has lived and thus passes on wisdom, not empty words. Back up your beliefs with experience. This is the only way to test for truth. The exemplar is the master storyteller, a sage, a wise one whose words empower. It is time to encourage the young, clarify possibilities for a balanced future, and to disseminate pure thought. You have cast out doubt and despair. Now you can reveal hopes that can be made real by those who follow you. Speak of a world worth working for. Your words pave the way to the future. Your experience tells you which words hold fast throughout time. Your thoughts are pure, for they are based on a reality you understand fully by the life you have lived. They are not in conflict with what is, but encompass and describe it. Okay. Woo! I love this card. I love this card. Okay. I love this card. And you know what? Since I went off on this card that is previous to it, I'm gonna read it because it's a word too. I told you this whole suit, the suit of arrows, is my favorite suit. Everything in it. Let me see if I can find the card that corresponds with it. Okay. Mm-hmm. Is my favorite suit. The whole deck is jamming. When I say jamming, I mean jamming. I mean, every reading I do, I'm like, whoo, I am overwhelmed by other people's by other people's readings, y'all. I'm like, oh, this this deck is the truth. I got a bunch of jamming decks, but this one, none of the others have met the bar yet, baby. None of the others have met the bar yet. All right, so let's see. Doop, doop, doop. I'm gonna find this card because we gonna get right up in it. Let's see. Just because of this study I did today and how this is just really divinely on time. God damn it, really divinely on time. Mm-hmm. Yeah. Mm-hmm. 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 Yup. Mm-hmm. Here it is. Okay. I might as well. Yep. Mm-hmm. Whew. Yeah. I might have to do a whole live where I'm doing nothing but reading the whole suit of arrows because I'm telling you, every card is powerful, and every time I stop on the arrows, I'm like, ooh, maybe that one. Ooh, maybe that one. But today, okay. So the previous card that I went off on and how like it might not have even been in her conscious cipher, but that every single suit, the queen energy of this suit is called the lodge. So the queen energy of this suit that I've been talking to you about, the arrow suit, the card is called the teaching lodge of the arrows, the liberator. So this suit, this card would be synonymous with the queen of swords. All right. So this card is the teaching lodge of the arrows, the liberator. Now I'm gonna show you the card. IG first. So take a moment and actually look at all the images in the card. Okay. And then there we go. YouTube. Take a long look at all of the images in the card. Now they are in a lodge because that's what the card is called, the Teaching Lodge of the Arrows. So you imagine that they're sitting inside a sweat lodge, surrounded in ceremony, and she is the facilitator of this ceremony, and they are looking outside the lodge because typically there is a hole in the roof of the lodge looking at the sun. Okay. They are all dressed in animal skins of different sorts. All right. This is the Teaching Lodge of the Arrows. All right. The Teaching Lodge of the Arrows. So first of all, the first card that I read to you, the exemplar of the Arrows, the Master Storyteller, I felt like that was pretty straightforward and to the point. If it wasn't straightforward, we can go back and talk about it. But I think this, y'all hear me talk about all, as a matter of fact, before we even talked about the card itself, that this is the world that we have to create. I'm always talking about that. I'm always talking about how our words become a material force, right? That what we say out of our mouth lives forever. This is what one of the laws, I can't remember which one of the laws of thermodynamics teaches us, is that as energy, as a force, when we open our mouth and loose a word, it lives forever until met with an opposing and equal energy that can undo whatever it is, right? And so to be the storyteller is to not regurgitate what the hell you think you know because you heard it and it felt good, right? It's not that. It is not to memorize the what's the word I want to use? It is not to memorize and recite the machinations of some great guru or preacher or whatever the hell. It is, am I speaking at any given moment in time that which I have transformed into wisdom through action, through use of this idea in the material world to test whether or not it's actually something I align with. I can believe something because it sounds good in my head when it comes in as knowledge. Like, damn, that sounds good. That sounds right. Like, I like that idea. The difference between knowledge and wisdom is that knowledge is still abstract in a mind that has not taken what you have collected as knowledge in your head and used it through, quote, scientific practice. How can I use this thing that I have acquired and sound good? How can I use it in the world to make sure, based on my flesh's response to this idea, that it's something that I can actually keep as my own, as an idea that I believe, because I've tested the shit. I've tested the idea. The embodiment is what makes knowledge become wisdom. It is the use through action in the real world that transforms knowledge into wisdom. Even your Bible say that, by the way. You understand? Even your Bible say that. And so this storyteller says, I can teach this young child of what the future holds and what the future can be, because I have tested the ideas. I have lived these lives as the warrior, as the mother, as the soft, as the strong, as the stern. I have lived all of these experiences. I take and give you what I have experienced, not as dogma, not as something to be reproduced or recited verbatim. Take what is used. But ain't I saying that to y'all all the time? Take what you need from this shit and leave the rest in the garbage if it does not apply to you. That all of us are in the process of creating our own religion. We can come together based on the similarity of the beliefs that we have. We can come together as the temple of evolutionary emergence. But even within the temple, sovereignty dictates sovereignty, independent sovereignty of those who have quote, manifest in the real world to say, this is my universe and I am the God of my universe. And being the God of my universe, I can do as I see fit, as long as what I want to do as a sovereign does not impose upon or threaten the sovereignty of any other. That's what egalitarianism is. That's what it is. That's what it means. You can chalk it up to some other bullshit. Feminism, I'm sorry. Feminism is not attempting to create an egalitarian society. All you got to do is look at the different dogmas that exist within, all the conflict that exists within this quote broad ass umbrella called feminism, and know that that shit in its origin has never intended to create an egalitarian society. We wouldn't be having the conflicts that we have as women, calling ourselves feminists, that these conflicts that have existed since the first wave of feminism in the mid 1800s, if the overall view of feminism was as the goal, as the unifying goal among all those born with uteruses, that our vision in alignment, no matter what our circumstances are, no matter how we incarnate in terms of race or what have you, that the one thing that we can agree on is that we are working all the time in all these machinations to achieve an egalitarian society. That ain't what they about. Ain't never been what they about. Ain't never even been expressed as a goal of the feminist movement. Never. And so I know some people be getting their panties in the wire when I say I ain't never, have never, and ain't felt no kind of way about it. I've never identified as a feminist. I've never called myself a feminist. Never. Never. It did not sit right in my spirit. For me, it did not even resonate as something that matched, that linked, even if I couldn't articulate it, match the idea in my mind of what a truly harmonious society would look like. Never. Now I have the language. Now I have the lived experience. Now I have an understanding that's more inclusive of all of these seemingly unrelated dichotomies that help to inform me. That feminism ain't never had my best interest at heart. Never. that the ideologies of feminism in its own mind presenting as an institution of dual and contending power ain't never even come close to what my imagination informs me of what the possibilities for a future is, based on understanding the divine harmony of the yin and yang that I'm always talking to y'all about, of the relationship between the mother and her children, that even though we see this relationship under a patriarchal society as a dominating relationship of the mother over her children, that ain't what it is. That ain't what it is. That ain't what it is. And so that's all I want to say about the exemplar as the master storyteller. That to be a master storyteller is not to be, oh, I done read this book, that book, this book, that book. I done memorized this. I know the whole Bible. I know how to quote the whole Bible or whatever divine script I subscribe to at any given juncture. You know, I know how to perform mantras for 10 hours without none of that. None of that. None of that. That is not what this particular card is articulating as the master storyteller, and what is needed of the master storyteller. This, to me, I love this card so much because even though it's quick and to the point, it explains so much. It explains so much that we all are on a journey, not to escape the world. First of all, we are all on a journey to become the master storyteller through whom each and every other around them can take the lessons learned by the exemplar and say, man, that is awesome. How can I grow on that? How can I move based on this lesson from my mentor and build on that? And the mentor not have an attitude like, why you think you're trying to be better than me or whatever the fuck. You understand what I'm saying? That's the whole purpose of being an exemplar, of being a mentor, is to pave the way that is peculiar to us in our life and our destiny fulfillment, and then keep and record those lessons so it makes the journey less difficult for those who come behind us. The reason that children, the reason that young people, young adults between the ages of 18 and 24 are typically the most depressed, feel the most betrayed by the group, by the whole group, is because we have not left lessons for them to step into that makes that transition from childhood into adulthood easier, not harder. We haven't done that. Not collectively. We haven't done that. And so they are perpetually feeling betrayed, perpetually feeling abandoned, perpetually at war. All these quote generation wars. You know, no, it's Team X, it's Team Gen X. Nah, it's Team Gen Z, and that's why you old niggas blah 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 blah, and these young Gen, millennials or whatever, y'all just don't know the value of a hard day's work and all of this bullshit, when that's not what it means to transfer information from generation to generation with the long view of creating this world that may have made our lives, one full of suffering or what have you, to lessen the burden for generations to come, not for us to go to war with our babies. That's some madness. That's some dumbass shit, yo. And we get mad because, the young people just don't respect the elders. They don't respect you because you have left nothing for them. They don't respect you in whole because you think you know more because your ass is old and still stupid. Your ass is old and haven't learned any lessons. Your ass is aged and you think that the goddamn gray hair gives you some knowledge that makes you better than your offspring, than your descendants. And I'm not even talking about your direct descendants. We as a whole, now I'm going to be 50 in 2 months, 3 months, something like that. That we as a generation, and we can take a lot of pride as Gen X. We did some collectively radical shit because our parents was who? The goddamn, what y'all call them? What you call them? The baby boomers. Our parents was the baby boomers. So even though we had legitimate critique about what wasn't left for us by the previous generation, I'm telling you, this shit is a goddamn orchestration of grand proportion. First of all, it is meant to chop us off at the knees at every generation, as opposed to emboldening us and making the journey easier so that we can actually get to this thing that we're trying to all get to, even if we can't articulate, which is what? An egalitarian society that affords us the ability to enjoy our incarnation on earth, as opposed to toiling from the moment we are old enough until the last breath that we take. That's the egalitarian society that we're trying to create, even if we cannot articulate appropriately. And so every generation feels more abandoned than the generation before. Here we was Generation X. We was setting off some real shit. We did some gangster shit as Gen X. But as much gangster shit as we did, there were just as many flaws as we had. There were just as many flaws as we had that we have to come together. First of all, take accountability for, articulate that shit to assist the generations after us into becoming better than us. That's what we want. That's what we want. We want our baby. We want our descendants. We want our collective descendants. We want our collective descendants to be better than us, not worse off, not less intelligent, which is what we are seeing unfold in real time. That is some insanity. That's mass insanity. And so I'm always saying, I'll reiterate it now. I love Gen Z. I love millennials, whoever coming after that. What is it? Gen Alpha, whoever. All y'all coming after us, and the audacity without a frame of reference that you have. And you like, fuck it. Soft life in the house. I'm like, yes. Come on in the room, teach us old niggas how to do it, because we didn't know no better. You feel me? What y'all say? What y'all call it? I forget. When y'all was quitting, soft quitting or whatever, quiet quitting. I was here for it. I was like, I need a motherfucking shirt. I love Gen Z and what is it? Quiet quitting. Come on in the room with that shit. Say, I ain't gonna be no slave no more. Fuck that. If they ain't paying me the value of my labor, I ain't doing it. Fuck them. You feel me? Like, everything that they were doing was like, yo, it was just beautiful and intuitive, not guided by any of their antecedents. Because we dropped the ball in the transfer of information. That's one of the things that we have to rectify right now. Each and every one of us have to live a life. First of all, each and every one of us have to live a life that is worthy of emulation. Each and every one of us. That's what it means to be the exemplar, to set the example, to set the example. That's what it means to be the exemplar, is that because of the life that I have lived in the material world, in action, ideas tested by action, And that action will determine, am I going to keep this idea as a part of myself, or no, I'm going to scrap that shit and leave it in the trash can of history because it sounded good, but in the real world, that shit didn't apply well. It didn't play out well. You understand? This is what it means. An embodied life. A life defined by action. A life defined by the harmonious coming together of ideas and action in the material world. You feel me? We have to become the exemplars. And it can't be, I'm older, so whatever I say, you just have to trust because I'm older. Though there ain't no evidence in my life that you can find that what I say I believe matches anything in the real fucking world. People are exhausted on that shit. That shit is goddamn ideological betrayal. It's spiritual betrayal. It's religious betrayal. They are accustomed to hearing you say one thing out your mouth and in the world doing the exact ass opposite. They've grown accustomed to that shit. That's why they can't trust nobody old. When I was telling y'all the other day, and I was just listening to it today, because I was like, I'm gonna need y'all to see about 100 timestamps of that 9-hour goddamn live I did the other day, and that shit was gangster. That goddamn live I did, that was brilliant shit, by the way. That shit was brilliant. That shit was brilliant. Listen, that shit was brilliant. And I was talking about all the ways now that we can identify, that we can say with our whole chest that Jesus was and always has been a two-faced motherfucker. We can say that. We can say that. We can say that with confidence. And that is why we have come to accept political betrayal, that our quote representatives will say one thing out their mouth to get the energy of our votes. The energy, why they need people to go vote so bad. All it is us checking a box behind the clothes. That energy that we put into that process validates the state. It justifies everything the state does. We give consent to the state not to do what they do for whoever we vote for to represent them, even if they quote change their mind. We didn't gave consent. That's what we did, and that's what they rely on. So we vote for the person who say, I got your best interest at heart. And when they get in office and pull the straight up okey doke in their two-facedness, we like, damn, but this what they said. But we like, well, it's just the nature of politics. What y'all call it in the Black community, politricks. It's just the nature of politics. No, it's not just the nature of politics. The United States government is an exact replica, exact to the letter, replica of every godhead of war that has ever ruled your goddamn skull, ruled your conscience to be two-faced, diametrically opposed polar presentations of two opposites. A two-faced motherfucker, no matter who it is. That's why I tell you that the chief weapon of any godhead of war, I don't care who it is, Shiva, Krishna, who else? Brahma, Buddha, Jesus, who else? Yahweh, Allah, you name them, and I'm gonna tell you and show you in real time, not because of the machinations in my imagination, that historically the reason we accept two-facedness, not only the reason that we accept two-facedness, the reason that we have come to expect betrayal in every space is because each one of these faces and each one of these places has been structured all the way down to the letter, to the duplicity and two-facedness of every patriarchal god, to profess love on the one hand while doing the most diabolical shit imaginable in the real world. You understand that the ideology, that's what this card is about. The ideology, the ideas is about love and peace and harmony and justice, while the actions in the material world of these self-proclaimed saviors that are about love and peace and justice, but the executors of their philosophies, these savior deities, these rescuers from whatever the fuck, right? Talking about love and this and this and this and this and this. That's why everywhere on earth, no matter who the deity is, if he is a patriarchal deity, he's going to manipulate the hell out of you with talks of love and shit. But at the same time, the actions of those who are his disciples, the actions of those who are his representatives, the actions of those that are his devotees are executing in the material world. absolute, unadulterated, never seen before in the goddamn 330,000 known years of conscious human beings ever. We ain't seen this kind of violence on earth in the whole of human history these last 6,000 years, since the emergence of the father, of the son gone rogue and the son giving birth to the father. We ain't seen it. But all of them, no matter who it is, whether it's Babylon, Sumeria, Greece, Rome, India, Japan, China, don't matter. Anywhere a god of war, a sun god, a solar deity has been erected from the imaginations of the son gone rogue. The son turned against his mother. The son turned against his mother. This is what we see. We see the primary weapon in its insidiousness is the professions of love, the declarations of peace and harmony and all this shit. Heaven, 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 shanty, nirvana, whatever the fuck. But the actions of the devotees of these great savior deities talking about love and all of this shit are the most relentless, diabolical, monstrous, destructive human beings the world has ever known. And all the while causing that destruction, causing that despair, these males perpetually giving birth to monstrous human beings with the sword in their hand, saying, love, we doing this for love. We Christians, we do this because we love you. We do this, we kill the infidels because we love you. We support genocide because we love. I'm just trying to give you a word. The reason that you accept political betrayal and you think you're an atheist is because the godheads of war still exist in every single solitary institution that exists on earth today has been given metaphorical birth to by the Father God. Everyone. You want to complain about why the medical system is the way that it is and why it do the harm that it do and all of this shit. It is because this institution is a child. This institution called the medical industrial complex is a child. It's the offspring of a malignant ass Father God who is fed off war and blood. That's it. That's all. You want to understand what's wrong with the goddamn school system? It is because it is the offspring of a Father God whose only pleasure is to devour. It is to consume humans, their energy, their blood, their souls. That's why. That's why. So to separate the political world, the social world, the scientific world from how these goddamn religious institutions have paved the foundation for every ail that every human on earth experience, you are being extraordinarily infantile in your understanding. And I'm telling you, without understanding, what is name? Lao Tzu? What Lao Tzu say? In the Art of War, he said, know your enemy, know yourself. You don't study your enemy, you never going to win. And the problem is, in y'all mind, that the only enemy that ever has been is white-skinned and male. I'm going to tell you that's your problem. I know y'all hate to hear it. That's your starting point, is with the youngest people on earth. Doesn't mean they are absolved. It doesn't mean that they are exempt of outright necessity for critique. It just means they the babies of the world, white people. They the babies of the world. White males are the youngest of human species on the planet. They're the youngest. And so what you trying to say is that white men didn't learn they shit from nowhere else. They just emerged in the world from up outside the mountain somewhere, you feel me, just violent and bloodthirsty and malignant. That's the conclusion you coming to? Child, please. Anyway, I didn't mean to go off. But this card says what? For those of us who are professing in our study, in our attempt to heal our own traumas, in our devotion to going into ceremonial spaces that have the ability to undo what has been done, this card here say, when you come up out of the sweat lodge, when you come down off your walk with ayahuasca or whatever your bag is, you better be transformed in a way that people can see the exemplar in you. Come out in the world saying what the exact quote is now you can reveal hopes that can be made real. What does real mean? This. Hopes can be made real by those who follow you. Speak only of a world worth working for. That's it. That's it. It's your words that pave the way to a future. Your experience tells you which words to hold on, which words hold fast through time. Your thoughts are pure, for they are based on a reality you understand fully by the life you have lived. Don't be teaching nobody no shit you ain't used. Don't be teaching nobody no shit that you have not consistently through action performed experimentation on. Is this really something that I can keep for myself because I have demonstrated through action that it is useful in my life, that it is assisting me in my daily evolution? Or this is some shit that sound good from a motherfucker who was a yogi and ain't busted a grape in the real world. Ain't busted a grape. Ain't busted a grape. And if you want me to be honest and more offensive, because I can be, that is the reason that it becomes so easy for Europeans in particular, people of European descent in particular, to be so gung-ho and ready to follow some brown-skinned melanated man called a guru or a yogi and go be up in the mountains or the ashram or what, because that motherfucker is never going to require them to do any work. Why? Because his ass has been elevated and has never done any work. What you think is work by the guru or the yogi or the sage or whatever the fuck, right, is his ability to punish his flesh. Yeah. The 40 days of fasting. He is so, you can tell how sacred he is because his skin is literally just hanging off bones. He ain't got no muscle. You can see all his ribs. He ain't had sex since he was born. The evidence of his sacredness is his ability to deny his flesh, his willingness to deny the last thing that links him to his mother. The punishment of the flesh, standing under a waterfall on one foot for 3 days without eating or drinking. That type of walking on coals, sleeping on beds and nails. This shit becomes admirable. Not only that, even as he is doing these public displays of penance, of self-punishment, right? Of punishing his female part. His flesh is his female self. These displays of his willingness to punish his female flesh and all the divine providence that's supposed to come as a consequence of his willingness to self-deny. And even with all this, quote, divine providence, even with all this, quote, divine downloads, and all the sacred ways for which he pontificates when he teaches you and shit, everything is so extra. Everything is so super, animated in the way that he professes this declaration to his disciples and shit. And you get caught up in that bullshit. And in all these divine providences, all these divine downloads, and all these goddamn elevations that y'all prop him up because look at what he was able to do. Look at what he was willing to do. Right? And at the end of the day, none of that shit, no divine providence, no declarations of divine downloads, got his ass out in the real world among the real suffering, particularly those in India. It's so interesting to me how you can't point out a goddamn yogi or a sage or a motherfucking shaman. What you call them? The yogi, they ain't shamans. The yogi, the sage, and what's the third one I said? Whatever they titles is. You understand? How they never go out into the community to attempt, with all this divine providence and all these divine downloads, to execute an identifiable change in the lives of the most suffering in the goddamn place. Gurus, thank you, in the place of most suffering among them in India. How divine providence don't ever translate to that. How divine downloads don't ever translate to that. Why? Because attached to divine providence and divine downloads is what? Karma. And isn't that so convenient that I can step over the suffering? I can step over the impoverished. I can step over the suffering because it's their karma. They are paying a divine debt from a previous life. And they chose their karma. This is why they're suffering in this life. This is why they're suffering in this life. So it's not my place as the guru to intervene in their chosen karma. Isn't that convenient? It don't require you to do a motherfucking thing as the guru, as the yogi, as the divine one. It don't require you to do nothing but be in a perpetual state of self-denial. Child, y'all can have that. Y'all can have that bullshit and ass bullshit. Y'all can have it. If you're a leader, if you're a guru, if you're my teacher, my guru, my shaman taught me, and he ain't busting a grape in the motherfucking real world, child, drop that shit and leave it where you got it from. Leave it where you got it from. Leave it where you got it from. Because inherent in raising up those who don't ever intend to match philosophy, to match ideology, to match belief with action in the real world, inevitably they will betray you because they are fashioned after the patriarchal God. I'm telling you, take it to the bank. Take it to the bank. Even if they start out with good intentions, because I've seen that too. People, particularly males, who start out with a genuine conviction and good intentions, power unbalanced, power unharmonized, power unanchored in one's mother will always be malignant. It will. When I tell you, I can promise you, whether it's 5 years down the line or whether it's 20, eventually they will betray you because that's the only thing they can go to in the absence of a grounded, harmonious relationship in the mother. What is the mother in this moment? The whole of the goddamn material world. You understand? I'm sorry. I ain't mean to go that hard on this one card, but it was a word. It was a word. It was a word. Right now, there's this thing happening. I forget the guy's name, but I remember like 3 years or 4 years ago, sometimes you on Facebook or other social media and you'll get some random like ad on your page and it'll be something spiritual, right? Because that's what your algorithm is matched to. So I'm seeing this dude. I think he was based out of Arizona. I don't remember his name, but I'm probably going to do a whole ass live on him because it's hot on everybody's lips right now. You feel me? Hot on everybody's lips. This dude, he was building this thing. He's had several really like major like retreats and events and all of this stuff. And everybody was like, oh my God, this guy, and his freaking following on YouTube was astronomical. Like, I don't know, 50 million followers or some crazy shit like that. Just sprung up from out of nowhere and was just like the man, right? I remember the very first time I clicked on an ad of his. And they had like a blueprint for what they were attempting to build as like their temple and all of the projects that they would be engaged in and all of the ways that you could support the building of this institution. I was like, okay, this look, especially the blueprint for what it was they were trying to. I was like, damn, this dope, right? I was like, let me see what this guy about. So I go to his YouTube channel. And mind you, this 3-4 years ago, I go to this dude's YouTube channel, and child, when I tell you that I listened to him talk for about 3 to 5 minutes. It didn't take that long, but I was like, maybe just listen. Maybe he'll say something that hooks me. 3 to 5 minutes, but it took about a minute for me to come to the conclusion that this is this bullshitting ass bullshit, just in a new cloak, in a new garment, with a new little linguistic swag. But listen, I never watched again. I never listened again. I never went to the website again because I knew in 3 minutes, that bullshit. And eventually, I don't know how long it's going to take. This shit is going to expose itself because there's nowhere else to go. Now this dude is hot on the lips of every spiritualist in the goddamn country. Everybody crying, crocodile tears, lamenting and wondering, how could he do this? How could he do it? I can tell you how he did it. The same conclusion I came to 3 years ago by watching 3 minutes of his motherfucking video. This nigga ain't shit. Why? One, because he's in the center. Two, because he is obviously not grounded in any relationship at all that is indicative of a relationship that is grounded in the mother. That was obvious in 3 minutes. And here, I'm telling you, I have seen so many IG posts within the last 3 days. So many IG posts, so many TikToks about this guy. And oh my God, I can't. No, this is a white boy. Oh my God, I can't believe he did this. I can't believe. Why y'all can't believe it? Why y'all keep saying that shit? When somebody get exposed for the dubious person that they is, for the dubious nature that they have, why y'all be saying that? Why y'all be saying that? I can't believe it. Why is that even a why is that even a phrase in our lexicon anymore? I can't believe it. Huh? You ain't lived, you don't know no history books of the last 100 years that teach you perpetually, that betrayal is more likely in your life than loyalty. You know what I'm saying? Whatever the cipher, whatever the situation, betrayal is a giant ass. It's just something we come to not only come to expect, we just come to live with as a part of life. Is to be betrayed. We cannot have that idea if we're talking about creating an egalitarian society. That ain't no shit we can hold on to as something normal. That can we create a society where betrayal is unheard of? Why? Because every individual who incarnates is guaranteed sovereignty from the first breath to the last. And in a society that is held to that is bound by that, betrayal is an impossibility. Can we create that? It's not, to me, far-fetched to create a community, to create a greater society where betrayal is an impossibility. This is what she means when she says, speak of a world worth working. Speak only of a world worth working for. Speak only of a world worth working for. That's what's going to speak the loudest amidst a mass of chaos. Is somebody saying something different, not regurgitating over and over and over again how bad it is, how fucked up it is. And oh my God, and oh my God, and oh my God, and oh my God. From within the midst of madness, there has to be something that we can say collectively together that gives people an idea, that creates in people's minds for the first time an image that they can see clearly in their mind of something worth working for. You understand? That's what it means to be an exemplar. That's what it means to be a master storyteller. So anyway, I still think I'm gonna talk about this last card. You feel me? I think I showed you the card, but I'm gonna keep it much, much shorter than I just did. You understand? But yes, this card, the teaching lodge of the arrows, this suit that is always centered around this beautiful Black woman dressed in gold, like our Yeye Oshun that we spent a long time talking about the other night, broke through. We spent a long time talking about Yeye the other night, right? And so this card, the teaching lodge of the arrows, is called the Liberator. Isn't this right on time with the card we just went through? So again, I'm gonna read the prayer and then I'm gonna read the lesson because it's short too. In the name of harmony and peace I live. I am the one who speaks. I have studied the great warriors, the peacemakers, those who freed slaves, and those who stood their own ground. I am learning the themes of their lives and making them my own. Here I'm just talking about the previous card, and this card go and reiterate everything I just said. I am learning the themes of their lives and making them my own. I am learning from revolutionary women and evolutionary men the very qualities that gave them undying spirit. I am gathering to myself the knowledge that I too can draw on the great mind. In my life, I will correct an injustice. Come on in the goddamn room on this day. In my life, you heard? I will correct an injustice. I will right a wrong. I will bring love where none has been known. I attune myself to the sound of the truth, and I listen until I am known. Woo! That's the prayer of the card. This is the lesson. It is time to put yourself in the company of great minds, whether through books, films, or person to person. Surround yourself with heroic presence. Read the words of those who have mastered life. Listen to music that fills you with positive visions. Let poetry enter and inspire you. Delete from your reality the signs and the sounds and images that bring you down, at least in your personal space. Surround yourself with visual, auditory, and sensual experiences that uplift. Create your own teaching lodge of the arrows. No bad news here. No television, no newspapers, no magazines that do not support your highest aspirations. It is time to create, at least in your own small space, a complementary, inspiring environment, and then welcome the goddess. Woo! Listen. 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 Yes, I'm gonna do it. I'm gonna read one more because I love this suit. Listen, I love this suit. The last one I'm gonna read, and then I promise I'm gonna move on, is called The Apprentice. I love this card so much. I love this card so much. The Apprentice of Arrows. So I'll show the IG first. The Apprentice of Arrows. So there she is again. Oshun personified. You see in the back, the phoenix appears to emerge from the sunlight on the horizon. She is directing the little baby. She teaching the baby. She teaching the baby. You feel me? This is quite possibly my favorite card in the deck. I told you I got about 3 or 4 favorite cards. This one is quite possibly my favorite card. You see back there in the sun and the trees and the phoenix emerging from the horizon, and she teaching the baby the way forward. You understand? I love this card because even in this card, I'm going to show the IG again. Here you have the image of Oshun, the oldest among us, teaching what I was just talking about, the youngest among us, the youngest incarnates on earth being white males. Here she is teaching this child. Why? Why is she teaching him? Why is she teaching him? This card is deep. This card is deep. This card is deep. Because we talk about this a lot. Why she is teaching him. We talk whether we know it or not. We talk about this card a lot, man. We talked about this card a long time in that 9-hour live that we just did a few days ago about how we have to understand the origin of things as they are, as they unfolded, if we are going to be honest about transforming the experience of human beings on this planet for forever. It means that we have to face, all of us, whoever we are, whatever our background and lineage is, all of us have to face some seriously uncomfortable truths. The reason these truths are uncomfortable is because the Father God is what? The chief warrior. What did we say the etymology of war was? To create confusion. To create confusion. That's what war means. To create confusion. What did your Bible say? Your Bible say what? The adversary. It don't say the devil. It don't say Satan. It don't say Lucifer. It says the adversary is the author of all confusion. If a truth is painful, if a truth is uncomfortable, if a truth is impossible where you are to face, it is because the adversary has created this discomfort. You and your inability to face this truth means you are uniting. You are uniting with the Father God posted up on the throne of your skull. That's what you united with. You okay with. You are in league with the patriarch living in your skull. That's the only reason that truth should be uncomfortable, is because you have united with the patriarch that has taken over your skull, child, your conscious mind and your subconscious mind. Anytime you are made uncomfortable by a truth, it means you have to wage a war against the patriarch in your head. That's what it means. It means you have to wage a war with the patriarch in your brain. And so there's some real uncomfortable truths I've been dropping on y'all in the last 2 weeks. Real uncomfortable. Why are they uncomfortable? Why would I say they're uncomfortable? Because I already trudged through that shit. Like, damn, I don't know about that. I don't know if I can tell people that shit. I don't know if I can articulate out in the world, this is what I believe because of the the actual hard, uncomfortable truth that I have had to wade through to get to this moment in my understanding about what the mother says is going to have to happen for us to take ownership of our lives, of our sovereignty, and together we as one. Mommy and I are one. So when you say that, are you saying mommy and I are one except them over there? Mommy and I are one except them motherfuckers over there? Mommy and I are one? No, you ain't. You don't believe what you're saying. You don't believe what you are saying. You don't believe what you're saying. At least how I have taught you. How I have taught you. You don't believe what you're saying. If you can still say but, if you can still say except, if you can still say but not them motherfuckers over there, you don't believe what I am trying to teach. You have not gotten to the point in your own, your own walk, your own evolutionary journey to believe what I am trying to teach you. You aren't there yet. That's okay, because it just means you further behind in your own peculiar sovereign walk through the roadmap of your life to reach your own destiny. It just means you're a little bit behind. That's all. I'm not trying to condemn you or make you feel fucked up. What I am saying is that to make a statement like mommy and I are one, the way I teach you is to be a whole different human, is to have a whole different understanding and clear vision in your mind, because you cannot create what you cannot imagine. You cannot create what you cannot imagine. You can't. It's impossible. You cannot materialize what you cannot imagine in your own mind. And if you can't imagine it, it means that somebody is taking up real estate in your skull that it does not belong to. That's the patriarch in your skull. Right now, the peak personification of the patriarch in the world is white, male, aristocratic patriarchy. But it is just one manifestation of patriarchy and a 6,000-year history of despair created by the son gone rogue and giving birth to his own father. And if you can't sit with that, if you are uncomfortable, I don't care who you are, male, female, and all the genders in between, black and white, and all the colors in between. If you cannot, first of all, if you cannot accept that, if you cannot even begin to entertain that shit, you are not a scientist, first of all. Because I'm never talking to you about strict spirituality. You are not a scientist. If something as basic and simple conceptually to be able to understand, and that makes you uncomfortable, baby, you are not a scientist. And it is going to be way more difficult for you to achieve certain evolutionary benchmarks in your own spiritual journey. To not be a scientist and call yourself a spiritualist is flicked, as far as I'm concerned. To not be a scientist and call yourself some kind of spiritual person is flicked. It's flicked. It don't even compute in my skull. It don't even make sense in my skull. Y'all don't have no problem saying that, quote, God is the chief scientist. Y'all ain't got no problem saying that dumbass shit, but y'all got a problem. And he is all ambivalent and invisible and imperceptible and all of that, unknowable, if you have them tell it. And y'all call him the master scientist, but you reject an idea of the necessity of science when it comes to, quote, goddess worshiping spaces and spirituality versus religion and all of that shit. And your material world is your material world, your experience in the material world is what allows you to conceptualize science in the first place. It's your mother. That's the master scientist. It is your mother that gives you the ability as a spirit to even conceptualize mathematics and science. But your ass so blissed out on some dumb shit that you don't even think critically, scientifically, and begin to bridge the chasms that exist in these spaces deliberately to betray you by a war god, by a godhead of war, who is what? The adversary set on nothing else but to confuse you. The author of confusion for a reason. Why? It's because he needs you to be compliant and not put up too much fight so that you become a compliant supply of blood and energy that allows him to live. Anyway, I know I be going in, but it's what it is. Now, let me show you this last card. I think I showed it to you. The Apprentice of Arrows. The Apprentice, so this is the page in the traditional deck. It corresponds with the page of swords in the traditional deck. The name of the card, this is probably my favorite card. then the other two are the other three, right? Are my favorite cards. It's called the Brave Herald of New Thought, y'all. The Brave Herald of New Thought. This is the prayer. I speak in words that always affirm the positive. I write in words that speak the truth, knowing that the truth is the underlying goodness within creation, and anything less than wondrous is false. I dismiss all thoughts of I can't and feelings that I am not responsible. I throw off whatever limits my good and the good of those around me. I see beauty and I speak beauty. I see love and I speak love. Where I cannot see these things, I supply them. Oh my God, yes, this is my favorite card. I see love and I speak love. Where I cannot see these things, I supply them. Bravely I go forth and change the words. Bravely I go forth and change the words that cause harm and grief and hunger. I change the laws. I listen, goddamn it. I change the laws. If the laws do not support what? Beauty and love. If the laws do not support what? The inherent truth of the world, that life is wondrous. What does she say? Anything less than wondrous is a lie. Anything less than wondrous is false. And in laws that do not support this wondrous life surrounded by beauty and love, I change the goddamn laws. Who that sound like? Who that sound like? Somebody say in the comments, who that sound like? What am I always ranting and raving about? Why everybody uncomfortable with this period? Because we, child, you know, we got like one of them little chains and them cuffs around our ankles with the big old ass ball on the end, preventing our movement from just to this radius where the chain can go. And we don't even question being bound by a chain and ball that limits our movement, that limits our vision, that limits our way forward. We don't even question it. It's our existence, and it's always been like this, so it's always gonna be like this. We limit ourselves. And what is the ball and chain? Y'all gonna be mad. What is the ball and chain that limits our ability to see an evolutionary future? It's our traditions. It's our, quote, culture. It's our religions. It's our spiritual traditions. It's our ancestral traditions. Y'all gonna be mad, I know. But here, the brave herald of new thought, the brave herald of new thought, who in the moment is who? Oh yeah, I'm saying it all the time. Oh yeah, oh yeah, oh yeah, oh yeah. I will not stop saying it. She is the brave herald of new thought. She is the usheress based on our conspiracy. She is the usheress of the new age. That's not my opinion. That's what the stars say. That's what the fucking planets say. It's her time. We living under her reign and her domain until the year 2044. This ain't my opinion. It's what it is. If we understand what we are presented with. If we understand what we're presented with. And so in this age, baby, the brave herald of new thought is Oya. It is. And she say, listen, where I cannot see these things, beauty and love in the wondrousness that is supposed to be a guarantee in this life, child, I changed the laws. I don't just accept that the law is what it is, like this bullshit happening in California right now. The law is whoever has their hand and wields, quote, the law based on their perspective. And so we have to challenge the law. What is happening in the world is legal. Just like slavery was legal, just like what else? The murder and the massacre of the indigenous population everywhere on earth. These things were legal because of who wielded the sword of what they saw was just and right action from their lens and their worldview of a white father god of war in the sky. Everything they did was legal. You understand? We must challenge those things based on our relationship to a mother that tells us that we are guaranteed sovereignty from the first breath to the last. And what sovereignty guarantees is that no other sovereign being has a right to impede upon your sovereignty, you as the center of your universe. Anyway, She says, I see love and I speak love. I see beauty and I speak beauty. When I cannot find these things, I supply them. Bravely, I go forth and change the words that cause harm and grief and hunger. I change the laws. I change the limits. I review concepts. I remind myself. I recreate a better place to play. I am a messenger bringing new thoughts that are the seeds that are that are the seeds of freedom. With the words you give me, Great Spirit, the young shall be liberated and the world transformed. That's the prayer. The lesson for this card. Your words live forever in the hearts and minds. Your words live forever in the hearts and minds of 7 generations. Speak in such a way that their minds can develop images of better ways. In guiding anyone, particularly youth, make sure your words assist their becoming self-responsible, capable, and caring. Listen to the needs of the developing soul of the student, just as you have been listened to by the ever-present guiding beings who stand by you in total love. Encourage the encourage the expression of highest self in all beings. Point the way by your own life and actions. Let me show you this card again. Point the way by your own life and actions. You will return to life in the world you have given your children. Listen. You will return to life in the world you have given your children. What are you creating in this moment? What are you creating in this goddamn moment, man? Damn. Teach that all can be transformed. The young have come to listen. What did we just spend an hour talking about, y'all? Oh my God. Teach that all can be transformed. The young have come here to correct the errors of your generation. Listen, the young have come here to correct the errors of your generation. Give them the skills to do so. Don't be slandering your babies. Don't be slandering young people. Don't be condemning the youth. Don't be ostracizing young people. Don't be, co-signing on and justifying aggressions against young people. It says they come here to clean up your shit. They came to clean up our shit. You understand what I'm saying? Give them the tools to do it. Give them the skills to do so. They are the only hope. Give them faith in themselves. Inspire courageous action in them. Share the wisdom that has helped you on your own path and the wisdom that you have developed. Point the way, encourage harmonious action. There is a child somewhere awaiting the knowledge that you now hold. Woo! Oh my God. I love this day so much. I have read these cards 1,000 times and I'm always moved. Always moved. Always moved. Man, look. Always moved. How long I've been up on here? I've been up here an hour and a half already. Woo, that was a word I know somebody needed to hear today. Oh my God. Child, listen. The louder the adversary is, the louder your opposition is, the louder you must become. And not just loud in general. What is it that you are loosing from your mouth? What is it speaking to? What are you attempting to create? Are you conscious when you loose your lips? Today, I sat here watching the news about they're estimating 1 million people in the streets of New York, and ain't no major news outlets talking about it. 1 million people protesting against Donald Trump in the streets of New York, and you are hard pressed to see aerial footage of this. It's the most radical thing I've seen in numbers since all of the multiplicity of demonstrations that were happening in 2001 when the government was threatening to invade Afghanistan. It it was radical what I saw today. And the only thing I kept thinking is all of those people there for the same reason, but I wonder what is being loosed from their lips. I wonder, are they chanting the same old 60-year-old, tired ass, ineffective chants? Hell no, we won't go. No justice, no peace. Nuh-uh. The whole time I'm watching this shit, I'm like, God damn. Is there a way to really like condense the conspiracy to right all wrongs? The conspiracy to right all wrongs and seed that shit into these mass mobilizations so their unity of will is centered on something that can have a direct impact, a goddamn tidal wave of instantaneous impact? Or are the same old diabolical people surfing that energy to their own ends and for their own purposes? Like I taught y'all when we read The State by V.I. Lenin, 100 in the year, what was it, 1883, he made this speech about the state and how the state is always looking to surf the wave generated by those who are the most oppressed. There ain't no shortage of energy. There ain't no shortage of a reason that we'll jump out together and stage a rebellion, but we are not the beneficiaries of the energy that we create. The wave we create, the swell that we create, all they got to do is get some nigger. All they got to do is get some preacher. All they got to do is get some artist or musician. All they got to do is get somebody to stand in front of you and surf the momentum that you have generated out of your genuine despair. And everybody will benefit in the end, except the creators of the energy that had the potential to change everything. That had the potential to change. He said that in 1883, Lenin. And here we are, 100 plus years later, based on, remember that long ass presentation that I did with y'all about the word nostalgia and how insidious and wicked that shit is as a strategy developed. Oh my God, we might have to revisit nostalgia. We get caught up on the nostalgia of the of the civil rights movement. We get caught up, swept up in the nostalgia of the Black Power movement and the anti-war movement of the 1960s. We get perpetually betrayed by strategic and weaponized instruments of nostalgia that always take us back to an age that is long gone and yielded nothing. Yielded nothing. Yielded nothing. Yielded nothing. Do you understand me? And the whole time I'm watching this shit, I'm like, yo, is there a way to like shrink and concretize the essence of the global conspiracy to right all wrongs in a direct contest with these godheads of war, so that you got 1.5 million people in New York, you got all these demonstrations happening in Europe right now, you got all this shit happening in LA right now. And if you go back and see the thumbnail that I chose for this video and how these strategic attacks that are happening in LA right now and in Southern California right now, they have already mapped. That I got off a website. These are all the cities that are in line to have the same thing executed on them within the next 6 months. Can we create a mass reproduction of the global conspiracy to right all wrongs and use our divine ashe, the power of our voice? I'm gonna read something to y'all today that is directly in alignment, even though it was not intended, with what I just read you from here about this concept of the power of our voice and what its origins are and what it actually represents. It's so, child, when I tell you, the mother got so much to say these days. She got so much to say, so much to say, so much to say, so much to say. You feel me? So what we're going to do is, I said I was going to read something else to you that happened on the same day that I pulled that card for you. And he'd been sitting here the whole time, every day. I got something I want to share with you. So the name of the book is so profound. The Webs of Power. The Webs of Power by the author Starhawk. I have bought all of her books. I have not read one. So when I was looking through the mass of books that I have and have not read, this one on this particular day just stood out. I was like, well, we have been talking about the Weavers and the Websters and the this and the this. I was like, you know what? Let me just crack open the spine and see what pops out as I stop. And child on this day. Where I stopped was on the chapter entitled Spells and Counterspells, Why Act Now? Spells and Counterspells, Why Act Now? So I'm going to tell you the preface of this book. Let me read the subtitle of the book. So it's called The Webs of Power, but the subtitle of the book is Notes from the Global Uprising. That's the subtitle of the book. Notes from the Global Uprising. Okay, so this book was written, I believe, in 2001. Let me see, 2002. This book was written in 2002 at the height of what I was telling you was this impending aggression against Afghanistan. So just looking through, after I turned to this page and was like, whoa, spells and counterspells, I was like, well, let me see what else is up in here in terms of the contents, right? And so I'm reading through the contents, and all the contents are like extreme. The names of the chapters and stuff are extremely political, right? There was only, let's see, there was only one other chapter that sounded outright witchy, and it was called How to Conjure Justice. I hadn't even read the chapter. I ain't even read the chapter yet, because all of the other chapters sound very, very specifically political. It's about this period in time. One chapter is called How We Really Shut Down the WTO. What's wrong with the WTO, right? Cutting down the pines, why we're taking action against the World Bank and the IMF. So very, very political. There's only one other chapter aside from the one that I'm not going to read the whole chapter, but I'm just going to read what stood out right away from this chapter. The only other chapter that sounds remotely witchy is called How to Conjure Justice. I said, oh shit. Here we go. The chapter that I landed on is called Spells and Counterspells, Why Act Now? So I'm only going to read about a page because this is what stood out. This was the page I turned to when flipping through the book. These days are short and cold. The streets are uninviting. The political climate seems as chilly as the winter winds, and everybody is saying that 9/11 changed everything. Why take action now? The government, the media, even some of our own allies warn us that public opinion is no longer with us, that repression will be high, that any action we take will be too costly, both personally and politically, that we should just hold back and wait. But the WTO, the IMF, the World Bank, and the other institutions of corporate capitalism are not waiting. They continue to meet, to argue for a new round of trade negotiations, to impose policies that result in a widening gap between the rich and the poor and a staggering global death toll. As winter nears, the potential rises from massive starvation in Afghanistan if relief trucks cannot deliver supplies because of our bombs. Doesn't this sound familiar? Written in 2002. Doesn't this sound currently familiar? Eerily currently familiar? And so on and so on. And so on bad days, we hear our own inner voices murmuring, it's hopeless. We've lost. The forces we face are too strong for us. Give up. These voices seem reasonable and sensible, but any witch can recognize a spell being cast. Oh my God! Damn! Y'all hear what she just said? I may need to read this shit slowly. She said, and so on bad days, we hear our own inner voices murmuring, it's hopeless. We've lost. The forces we face are too strong for us. Give up. These voices seem reasonable, even sensible, but any witch can recognize when a spell is being cast. Oh, listen. She said a spell is a story we tell ourselves that shapes our emotional and psychic world. The media, the authorities tell a story so pervasive that most people mistake it for reality. Okay, we're fighting a righteous war against the source of all evil, and everyone supports Bush, and corporate control is the only way to be safe and to provide what we need, and to question is evil too. The counterspell is simple. Tell a different story. Listen when I tell you about these motherfucking cards I just read, y'all. Oh my God. Woo! Let me tell you about these cards I just read and how this book that I have never cracked a spine open on the same day that I pulled that card for y'all and crack it open to some shit that is literally reaffirming the card that I pulled for you. The counter spell is simple. Tell a different story. Pull back the curtain. Expose their story for the false tale that it is. Act as if. She puts as if in quotations. Act as if, and then she has bullet points for the as ifs. Okay? Act as if. Act as if we weren't doomed. Act, God damn it. Woo, shit. Act as if we weren't doomed. Act as if what we did, act as if what we did in the next weeks and the next months could shift the balance of fate. Oh my God. Oh shit. Act as if the movement we are act as if the movement were coming back stronger than ever, attracting thousands and hundreds of thousands who have had their eyes blown open by the war. Act as if this movement were the most creative and visionary, inspiring, funny, welcoming, transforming, and truly revolutionary movement that had ever been. Act as if we had a new language. Oh my God. Woo! Act as if we had a new language, new tactics. Oh my God. Oh, fuck. Woo! Mm-mm. Act as if we had a new language, new tactics, new ways of communicating that could awaken the dormant dissent and the sleeping visions in every heart. Oh, act as if a whole new public dialogue was beginning outside the boxes drawn by our traditional political lines and our TV screens. Act as if all the different factions in our movement were learning how to support each other, how to work in true coalition and act with true solidarity, as if all who should be allies were able to come together and work for our common goals. Act as if we were going to win. Oh my God. Oh my God. Woo, child, God damn it. Oh, listen. She goes on to talk about, let's see. You know what? I'm just going to read this little section too. Yes, yep. Yep. I'm going to read the rest of this, okay? Because it's only like 3 pages. November, 2 years after Seattle, we see the WTO meeting in Qatar. Imagine hundreds of Seattle's Imagine 100 Seattles springing up in the many location and regional actions being planned. Opposition rising up all over the world. The IMF and the World Bank have rescheduled their meeting for Ottawa on November 17th and 18th. Imagine the demonstrations now being called against them and against the war outstanding in the world, confounding the police, shutting down the meetings, and revitalizing the movement. The School of the Americas Watch is having its annual action that same weekend in Fort Benning, Georgia. Imagine that action getting the attention it deserves, awakening the conscience of the people of the United States to the role our government has played in training state terrorists around the globe. But won't these actions alienate and polarize people? Maybe, if they're ill-conceived, gratuitously violent, or simply a matter of screaming oh, God damn it! Oh, fuck. Oh my God. Listen. Oh my God. But won't these actions alienate and polarize people? Maybe, if they're ill-conceived, gratuitously violent, or simply a matter of screaming the old slogans of the 60s over bullhorns. Didn't I just say that shit when we were talking about these tarot cards? Like damn near word for word. Imagining the 1.5 million people in the streets of New York right now saying something different. Uh, listen, listen. Oh my God. Or if they're timid, apologetic whining, they may simply leave people bored and yawning. But ours, God damn. But our silence will not change public opinion, will not educate people or get them thinking again about larger issues. Actions that are creative, vibrant, confident, and visionary, actions that directly and clearly confront the institutions we oppose and pose alternatives, can be empowering, both to those who take part and to those who hear of them. We need to tell me this is not my soapbox. I have not read this book. Okay? Tell me this is not perpetually my soapbox. We just did a whole long live about it a week ago. Listen, we need to advance, not retreat. Didn't I do an entire live about that a week ago? We need to advance, not retreat, to take up the political space we want and claim it. If we silence ourselves, we are tactically agreeing that our protests are indeed some distant kin to the terrorists' acts. If we insist that our voices be heard, that open dissent is not terrorism, but the deepest commitment to democracy, once the inevitable vitriol wears off. What did we just talk about? About the vitriol the other day? Oh my God, y'all. Listen. And how often do you hear the word vitriol? For us to roll up on it, what was it, a few days ago, talking about the the etymology of vitriol. Child, goddamn. That if we what's she saying? If we insist that our voices be heard, that open dissent is not terrorism, but the deepest commitment to democracy, once the inevitable vitriol wears off, we'll find that we've gained legitimacy and shifted the ground of the dialogue. The longer we wait to claim that space, the more rigidified the patterns of oppression will grow. She wrote this in 2002, and let me tell you about today in Los Angeles. The more rigidified, the less we fight back, the less we speak up, the more rigidified the patterns of oppression will grow. We need to act now while the future is still fluid. We need to act now while the future is still fluid and set the patterns of the new ourselves. We just read The Brave Herald of New Thought as a tarot card. And I opened this book, didn't even read the whole chapter, just the first page. When I opened it up, I was like, oh, I need to share this with the family. Child, let me tell you. Since 9/11, I've been to more rallies and marches than I can count. I've marched with the Gandhian pacifists, with the white-haired women in the wheelchairs. I've marched with the dancing. I've marched with dancing, drumming pagans. I've marched with socialists and militants screaming about imperialism. I've marched with black masked anarchists surrounded by riot cops. And you know what? It's been okay. The police have behaved like police behave. Sometimes restrained, sometimes provocative, occasionally vicious, but that's not new. At times, we met counter demonstrators, but never more than a handful. And we often received unexpected support. I've seen construction workers flash peace signs back at peace signs at the black box. I don't know what that is. Of course, our fears aren't just based on fictions. The authorities command real force, real tear gas, real clubs, real guns, real jails. Real people do die, go to prison, suffer. So might we. But fear, listen, fear makes things worse than they are. Fear makes things worse than they are. Fear limits our vision. and our ability to take in information makes the power holders seem omnipotent and leads to our suppressing ourselves, saving the authorities the cost and trouble of doing it for us, doing it for them. And despair leads to paralysis. Despair leads to paralysis. The counterspell for fear is courage. The counterspell for fear is courage. Listen. Where that book at? I got books strewn all over the place. Where is that book? I ain't even gonna pull the book out, but there's a book. Remember my little baby, my little baby grimoire that I told you was my very first grimoire, and it's like all jaggly. When I was taking my first little baby notes as my baby devotee self to E5, and I was taking in my notes from it was an E5 study group that I was in, and she was talking about Shango that day, and in my baby notes, because I done read it to y'all many times, and in my baby notes when it talks about Shango, who in this moment is Aquarius. Shango is Aquarius. All right. Pluto in Aquarius is the new age. That's Oya, the brave herald of new thought, and her posting up in the sign of Aquarius for the first time in 248 years. That's what I mean when I say this shit that we are in is so perfectly divinely timed. It's like divine poetry. So anyway, Shango, when she talked about Shango that day, she said that it is Shango that we invoke. She said it is Shango that we invoke when we are fearful. Why? Because Shango teaches us that the only cure to fear is courage. The only cure to fear is courage. Courageous action. Here she say right here. What she say? She say, fear makes, let's see. She said, and despair leads to the paralysis. The counterspell for fear is courage. Facing the possibility of the worst, then going ahead with what you know is right. The counterspell for despair is action in service of a vision. Action. Didn't I spend the first whole hour talking about action and how your actions have to match up with what come out your mouth? Didn't I spend the whole hour, the first hour, talking about this? The counterspell for despair is action in service of a vision. The counterspell for paralysis is stubborn, persistent passion. Even when we're wrong, if nothing we do does make a difference, courage and passion are a better place to be than hopelessness. Courage and passion are a better place to be than hopelessness, cynicism, and fear. If the authorities repress us, that's better than becoming people who repress ourselves. If we see our dreams ripped out of our hands, that's better than never daring to dream at all. And if we tell our own stories, like our first card, the master storyteller, if we dare to tell our own stories with enough intensity and focus, we'll start to believe them, and so will others. We'll break the spells that bind us. We'll start to want that other world we say is possible with such intensity that nothing can stop us or deny us. All it takes is our willingness to act from vision, not fear, to risk hoping, to dare to act for whatever it is we love. Oh my God. Woo, shit. Listen about weaving in real time. Oh my God. Listen, when I talk to you about being able to see the majesty in the seemingly mundane, to see magic and the supremacy of the small. Oh my God. Ooh, child. Oh my God. Do I have time? What time is it? 2 hours? All right. Let's see if we can get what I want to get done next in 2 hours. So while I'm looking for my notes, y'all, I want to talk to you about something. One of the many things that I talked to you about the other day in that insane 9.5 hour live that I did was about, I went in on it, as a matter of fact, about the need for me to start backing up my YouTube videos because of what I could see coming. of what I could see coming, right? How about this morning when I turned on my YouTube, the first two videos in my For You were two Black women talking about what the fuck happened in their titles in some way. What the fuck happened? My YouTube channel has been demonetized and my videos deleted. Didn't I literally just tell y'all guys that shit Thursday that it's like a crisis for me now is how I am going to eke out the time in my life to start backing up my videos. And at the time, I hadn't looked at how many videos I had in a long ass time. So I'm like, yeah, I got about 430 videos. Child, no, I don't. I don't remember when the last time was I looked at the number of videos that's on my account, but no, the fuck I don't. 753 videos on my channel. 7, not one I have backed up. And today, back to back, these women are telling the terrible story of the demonetization accompanied with the no warning, no nothing, the accompanying of the disappearing of their videos on their channels. And these women were not talking about anything remotely as controversial as what I have been talking about. Not one woman I've watched regularly because her whole channel is about creative ways for people to make money so that they don't have to get a full-time job. She doesn't curse at all. She is a very well-spoken and energetic, I think she's Jamaican or maybe Jamaican by way of England, but very, eloquent and cheerful and always upbeat. Never heard her say a single explicative, not one, not never. And her whole channel, which is 3 years old, has just been putting people on game about where they can get free money or how they can earn money on a regular and this and this and this. And she was like, they snatched my shit up. 50 of my videos have been completely removed and they demonetized my page. I literally just spent 2 hours talking to y'all about that the other day. I don't know how I'm going to get all these videos off my YouTube channel, thinking at that time I only had 400 plus videos. And then I go to look today. I was like, as soon as I saw those 2 videos, I was like, damn, I need to get on this. I can't even procrastinate. Let me get on this shit now and at least see if I can get a few downloaded today and backed up so I can start chiseling down. And then I go and baby, 753 damn videos on my channel. I was like, oh my God, this is going to be a task of gargantuan proportion. How do I even get a grip on this shit? Not just my YouTube channel. I was like, well, while I'm at it, I need to back up everything. I told you I'm still paying $93 a month for my StreamYard because it's functioning as the storage for all the videos that I did when I still was using StreamYard. I still have to back all that shit up. So I'm paying the $93 a month so my shit don't disappear. You feel me? My Zoom, the Zoom that I use to facilitate meetings and rituals and ceremony and shit, my storage, my damn cloud storage on my Zoom is on the brink. That's how many videos I have in there that I still have to download. I was like, oh my God, like overwhelmed, sat in right away. I was like, okay. I started plotting a scheme of like, can I give money to people and get them to buy external hard drives where they are and give them the damn password to my YouTube channel so that they can commit on the external hard drive they got to do so many videos and they got to do so many. I'm serious because I was like, there is a reason that these 2 videos, among all the things that could have popped up in my For You, came up this morning as the first thing that I saw. That this feeling that I had on Thursday when I did a 9-hour live, and the thing that I spent a lot of time on was this thing that's always looming over my head about needing to save content because I see them making. This was before I even had any evidence. I know the state was like, listen, the more outrageous, the more overt that they get, the first thing they're going to do is to attack every means of communication. That is that's their default shit. Is to attack all methods of communication. Is to make it impossible for us to communicate with one another. I was like, I got to get this shit has to become a priority. And in my life, I can't even imagine how that would happen. And that was based on me thinking I only had 400 videos upon here. And I'm looking through today. I was like 753 videos. Oh my God. How am I going to do this? How am I going to do this? Is there a more expedient way to do this? I can't even think of it because I'm not tech savvy. So even then, I was only able to download, like, I don't know. These are massive files. And my earlier files, because I started all the way back to the beginning, right? My earlier files, in 2-3 years, I never did a video that was longer than an hour, maybe an hour and a half. And here for the last year, it's been 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10 hour long lives. I'm like, oh my God, how am I going to do this? How am I going to do this? So that's one of the things that we're going to be talking about. Y'all laughing. I'm deadly serious in here. These women were distraught. One woman has had her YouTube channel 14 years. And out of nowhere, with no warning, she goes onto her channel and all of her videos have been removed with no explanation. Her page demonetized with no like, okay, you got X amount of time to fix X, Y, and Z and this and this and this. None of that. I was like, oh my God. And the one thing that I can probably rely on, at least right now, that is, quote, saving me is the fact that I'm pretty much like out of the radar. Y'all been telling me I've been shadow banned, you feel me? That I'm nowhere on the algorithm. So it's probably the only thing that's keeping me out of sight is the fact that I'm not detectable at all in the algorithm. And that I've been relatively shadow banned. Like, people tell me all the time, it takes them time to find my channel. It's probably the only thing that's saving me. I got to get this shit dumped. And the other thing I was telling y'all the other day is I got to now actively start looking for, like, maybe at pawn shops or whatever, like old CD towers and old DVD towers, like when the brothers used to be, the Block Boys used to be on the corners selling a little $5 CDs. I'm a new artist, I'm a new rapper, you feel me? You support my music by buying my CD and shit. I'm like, we might have to be doing that. We might have to be looking at real time, old school organizing, aka scorched earth type of shit. Because this shit is, listen, this motherfucker been in office 6 months. 6 months. We still got 3.5 years of this shit. And he came out the gate swinging, baby. He came out the gate swinging. And so we have to be like setting a course, one, for how we can continue to communicate, and two, how we can secure that which is ours and still get our ideas out in the world. When I say, I was not making a joke the other day, I got to be on here trying to find used CD and DVD towers and going back to old school CD shit and like little cheap thumb drives that you can buy by the bag and all of that shit, because this shit is getting real. I couldn't believe this shit when I woke up this morning. So anyway, yeah, y'all been telling me for months and months and months, y'all never get notifications, even though you have your notifications on like this. Like, this shit is deep. One sister told me that I always used to get your notifications. Now, never. And I don't know what has happened. I ain't changed nothing on my computer. Never. That's what shadow banning looks like. Where your followers ain't get your notifications, your shit ain't even circulating on the algorithm. You feel me? So let's see. What was of priority that I wanted to talk to you about? So I've been watching all day until I got up in here. All day, my Etsy is Daughter of the Fates, FATES, Fates plural, DaughterOfTheFates.etsy.com. Some people say no www, no HTTPS, colon, // just DaughterOfTheFates.etsy.com. Some people have been able to access it this way. Some people say they have problems accessing it that way. So if you find that you have a problem, just go on to Etsy.com and then just type Daughter of the Fates in the search engine and it will come up. So anyway, while I was making jewelry, taking notes, and listening pretty much most of the morning after that intervention with them two sisters, watching the timestamps that you guys have been diligently posting on the last live that I did, the 9-hour live. Which I so appreciate. I have I cannot communicate it enough how important it is the timestamps. And as a matter of fact, given what I just talked to you about, I may need to start going through these videos and actually writing the timestamps in correlation with the video title in case this becomes something that is a serious potential for my channel, is to, so I don't lose the timestamps, like keep a little book and every video write every timestamp that you guys submitted, because again, it is going to be really purposeful when I have the capacity through people to start doing some serious video editing for these, not only video editing for that matter, even taking and downloading the transcripts for these videos to begin to publish, ebooks. So the timestamps will be really helpful. What was the reason I said that? Because I was listening to every single timestamp on that 9-hour live, and first of all, that live was genius. I'm just gonna say, so much came down in that live that were just utter eureka moments, utter. And it was like my brain just re-listening to the shit I said out my own. My brain was just firing. Oh my God, I didn't even see this in the moment. I got to make sure I write this down to draw this connection that I didn't make in real time. Yo, listen, I was up in here. That live was great. That live was great. And it was so necessary. And so, baby, it was so perfectly timed. It came out the day before all of this madness unfolded here in LA, the day before. So I'm listening to it today in the height of this shit where they're talking about sending 5,000 Marines to the city of Los Angeles today. And listening to this live, I did the day before for 9 hours and saying to y'all, like, damn, why do that? Why y'all let me do that? Why y'all let me be up on here for 9 hours? I got to work and I got to pay my rent. There was a reason that it came down exactly the way that it did, exactly when it did, because the next day when I started getting texts and I started seeing videos and all of this stuff, I was like, this was divine timing, the message that came down on that day. Like child, listen. So anyway, as a part of so much that came down in that live, I took some notes to share with you today, and some corresponding readings that we're going to do from our Trinity, if you will, of sacred documents, which is our grand Bible, the Great Cosmic Mother, Rediscovering the Religion of the Earth, the Women's Dictionary of Symbols and Sacred Objects, and the Women's Encyclopedia of Myths and Secrets, and in partnership more minimally with those three, the Webster's First New Intergalactic Wikidary of the English Language, conjured by Mary Daly in cahoots with Jane Caputi. And lastly, the Sibyls, the First Prophetesses of Mami Wata, and the Theft of African Prophecy by the Catholic Church. Okay? So I was up in here multitasking, making jewelry, listening to the 9-hour live, stopping every now and again to take notes from that live, what was coming down at that moment. And baby, even these cards that I pulled for you today, and this reading from the small reading from the Webs of Power, directly in alignment, though not intended, with this deep dive that I went in today, based on the 9-hour live that we did the other day. Okay. I see, every day, with every day that passes, I see more and more increasingly the urgency of us creating like a web of connection. So when I first came to California in 2018 and ended up deciding to stay, the first place that I posted up was a story for another day, but the first place I posted up was invited to stay. Was I spent like 4 or 5 months in a frat house in a college town called Claremont. Yes. One of the kids who had invited me to stay, and that was supposed to be temporary, like a weekend, just because they had a film assignment and they all wanted to interview me for this project that they were doing. So it's supposed to be 3 days, and now it's supposed to be, doing some other things. I ended up staying there, taking one of the kids' bedrooms, and ended up staying there for, like I said, about 4 or 5 months. But in that, I used to get invited to like do workshops and seminars on the different campuses. So on this giant plot of land, they call it the 5 Cs because there are 5 different colleges on the same massive acreage of land. And so I used to get invited regularly to teach seminars and workshops on different subjects. And what was the reason I brought that up? Shoot, I don't even remember that. Why did I bring that up? I don't remember. Maybe it's going to come back to me. I mean, it's completely gone. Damn, why did I bring that school up? I don't remember. That's crazy. Like at all remember. Not at all remember. Dang. I was talking about the last live. Let's see. Oh. I remember. As a matter of fact, let me make a note. I remember. So while I was on this campus, these campuses for about 5 months, they have a program on the campus where they call. I didn't know that's how I was being seen by these young people, but they had this project, this program on the campus called "Invite Your Community Elders." It was like a, what do you call it? It was like a way that elders in the community could audit classes. All right. So people who weren't involved in school or anything like that, but a young person could invite a community elder to come and sit in a specific class with them that they think that this elder might enjoy or would like to speak in or whatever. So all these young adults that are younger than my children at the time, like the house that I was staying in with these kids, this frat house, literally called the Harvard house, was like 5 young males who I think the oldest of them was 21. The youngest was 18 and the oldest was 21. And they didn't gave up a bedroom to me, this strange Black woman that they met at an event and were like, oh my God, can we interview you? We'll come stay at our house for a weekend so we can all interview you for our film project. I was like, yeah, that sounds dope. And then I ended up staying there for 5 months, my first 5 months here in California. And so anyway, I got invited several times before I recognized that they were inviting me as the community elder to these different classes. I got invited to this one class called, it was called Hate. I think it was called Hate. No, it was called Rage. The name of the class was called Rage as a Motivator for Change. Rage as a Motivator for Change. The class was taught by a Jesuit priest, which I found fascinating. That was the name of the class, Rage as a Motivator for Change, taught by a Jesuit priest who proclaimed that he was an active participant in the civil rights movement. Okay. So when he's introducing himself to the class, he draws on the board what looks like a river, right? So he's drawing this river, and then he's drawing like little, offshoots, like little streams, right, off the river. So the river is taking up the whole board, and there's little streams. Then after he draws the rivers with the streams, he starts drawing dates. He starts writing dates on the streams, right? Or no, he starts writing events on the streams and dates, along the river or whatever. You feel me? And so when he finishes his little writing, he tells us that what we're witnessing is the quote river of his life. Okay. And the little streams branching off the river of his life mark very important moments in this river that is his life. Yes, a timeline, but he called it a river. This is how we learn time anyway, right? We learn a straight line with some little sticks off of it, landmarking pivotal moments. That's how we've always been taught history, right? He wanted to be, quote, cute, and he called his the river of his life, and the major moments in his life were the little streams. Okay. So like he got married and this and this and this and this and this. And, he talked about his time in the civil rights movement and what actions and mobilizations he participated in. That's the only reason I want to tell you the story, is because in that moment, in that class, I'm taking notes. I go everywhere expecting that spirit has something for me, that I don't show up to any space just because. She's always got something to communicate to you in every place that you are in, if you are open to receive, if you are listening. She's got every space that you go into. And the more random that space, the bigger the message, I'm convinced. So this little girl, 21 years old, talking about, Cassandra, will you come to this class with me? I think you'll really like it. It's called Rage as a Motivator for Change. I was like, that sounds dope. Yeah, I'll come. Then I go in. There are all these gray-haired people in the room. And then the guy's like, yeah, I want to show thanks for all the students who brought their community elders. And I look over at this girl. I was like, am I the community elder in this scenario? She was like, yeah. I said, oh, mind you, I'm 43 at the time, and I'm the community elder sitting in a classroom full of obviously old people, all old, like white hair old people. I was like, wait a minute, when I became an elder, like when that happened, right? So anyway, so this is what I'm talking about in terms of the randomness of this situation that I am in. And so I'm taking notes right away. I'm like, okay, she got something for me up in here, right? And so as soon as he started telling IG, okay. So as soon as, he starts telling us the story about his river of life and all the streams and significant moments or whatever, it was like I got the metaphor, but I was instantly annoyed by the way he described his life, this metaphor of his life. And right away in that moment, it shook me so much. I was like, oh my God, this is why it's always been wrong. This is why it's always been wrong. Time, the way we're taught. So yeah, this is a cute and better analogy for your time, your understanding of time. But it didn't sit right with me. And so in that class that day, as a matter of fact, I should try to find the book. That day, I started drawing, like, how should we be teaching time? How should we be telling the stories in time? How should we be witnessing how time unfolds? Now, of course, I was much more in my revolutionary bag then, in 2018 than I am now. But so the reason I mentioned my revolutionary bag is because that is one of the things that is not, it's not clearly and easily articulated or communicated when you, as a quote, revolutionary scientist, are learning the concepts of dialectical materialism. So the cornerstone of socialism in particular, and subsequently communism, is this concept of understanding the world through the scientific understanding called dialectical materialism. Anybody who is a socialist worth their weight spends the majority of their time understanding dialectical materialism. Okay? Historical dialectical materialism. All right? And I was a young revolutionary learning this very complicated idea of historical dialectical materialism. To me, it was brilliant. It was like, oh my, even very young when I started learning, it's 24, 25 years old. I was like, oh my God, why don't they teach this to everybody? Everybody should know how to see the world like this. Like, this is amazing. To me, it was like the most radical breakthrough, understanding this scientific concept. Maybe I talk about it like very superficially on here, but maybe it should possibly be like a political education series that we do, because even with the limitations of its creator as an ideology, which is Marx, the concept of historical dialectical materialism, for me, having really took that shit personally, changed everything. It changed how I saw the world. It changed everything. And to me, I was like, everybody need to know this. We need to be teaching this shit in kindergarten. Everybody need to know this, how to see the world. But even learning this concept of historical dialectical materialism within the narrow worldview of socialist ideology, because even though this concept, this scientific concept of historical material dialectics or historical dialectical materialism is supposed to make it impossible for a person to think dogmatically, the exact opposite was the effect in socialist revolutionary organizations. How is beyond me. But that was exactly what it was proposed to prevent, is a way of getting dogmatically trapped in ideology. That was the big chunk of why it was important, to be able in an instance to adequately identify and explain phenomena, not in and of itself, but to see that phenomena and its expression in that moment as being the peak presentation of a multiplicity of things that had to happen for that phenomenon to express itself in that specific way in that specific moment. That there are a million different factors and variants that contribute to a phenomenon in its peculiar expression in that moment in time. That any slight change in the time, any slight change in history, any slight change in any of the contributing factors, the phenomena would not be the same. That shit is brilliant to me. Brilliant to me. And the way that I learned it and internalized it, it spilled over everywhere. That's why me going into medical school the way that I did as a revolutionary first made my experience in medical school so extremely peculiar to everyone else that I was in these programs with, because I went in with a very scientific, revolutionary, historical basis, and understanding anything I laid my eyes on in a moment, I could explain it if I took a moment to identify all of the seemingly external contributing factors to why this phenomenon showed up in time and space the way that it did in that moment. To me, the shit is brilliant. And I was like, oh my God, we got to be teaching everybody these, right? Fast forward to 2018, where I'm in this classroom witnessing this Jesuit priest talk about his life as an activist particularly in the civil rights movement, and he referred to his life as a river. And in that moment, it was like a straight up gong went off in my head. A straight one of those moments that is pivotally identifiable in your memory as a shift. And I started drawing an image in my notebook where I was taking notes of time as a web. Time as a web, right? And I said, okay. So in these notes, I said, okay, how do we structure time as a web, right? And then I went on to the next page and I was like, okay, I like the water analogy though. So maybe we can teach time as water. And what I identify in the web as the previous page, the strands in the web, which radiate out from the center or the origin of the beginning of the web, in this water analogy, the water is the metaphor for everything, right? Time and space, right? And then the pebble analogy that we use in science, right? In terms of, what is it? An object in motion will remain in motion until that motion is stopped by an object of equal energy that stops the motion. So we always use that as the metaphor for when you drop a stone in the water and how the waves will ricochet all the way out forever and ever if there's never a boundary. And the only boundary that stops the wave from radiating outward in its current motion is the shore where the wave hits, and it doesn't end, it just reverses its motion. So the wave will hit the surface and then come back, whatever, right? And we always saw it in reference to like witnessing us as the observer, witnessing the waves on the surface of the water, never really thinking about or understanding scientifically what the impact of the rock was going all the way down to the surface, because it's not just disturbing the surface. As the rock goes down to the bottom of the floor of whatever body of water that is, it is having the same impact three-dimensionally, and I say, five-dimensionally, is having the same impact that we can see on the surface all the way down to the bottom of the of the lake or whatever, right? I was like, we have to see time that way, not just observable time, us looking at the waves being disturbed or generated by the rock disturbing the surface, but recognizing these are the phenomena that we can see with our own eyes, or understand from our own experience or understanding. But what we don't see and factoring into the phenomena that we're witnessing, right? The rock going down to the bottom and disturbing the water all the way down, and the multiplicity of ways that it can have an impact on what we're seeing, whether we understand what we're seeing or not. I hope that wasn't too deep. So I'm going in about, oh my God, we have to teach all history this way. That if you have one rock, so say the lake is completely still, okay? And you have one rock, that disturbs the surface and sends waves, not only three-dimensionally, which is what you are seeing, watching these waves fan out from that rock, but five-dimensionally, because you don't see the impact of the rock going down and down and down and down, is having an impact that is not observable by your eyes, all the way down, all the way through the entire body of the water. This rock is one event in history. So you know how when you're looking at a timeline and they'll be putting these little sticks on the timeline and they'll say, this is one event. And they'll act like the event just was what it was when it occurred, and that's it, right? There's a presumption that there was no other factors that gave rise to the event. This moment in history is just a line and then a stick and then a date. And this is the event, right? To see time as still water, if you will, and that each quote date is a pebble that is disturbing and having an impact on the entire body of time. The lake is time, all time. The lake is all time. And each event is a pebble that is having an impact on all time, Whether that time is directly related to you and yours, like we learn American history is just American history. No impact nowhere else. It's just American history. We learn European history is just the European history and no impact. That's how it's taught to us, is these just straight lines of unrelated events and shit, which is outrageous that we still teach that way. And so I'm sitting here in this class like, oh my God, this is what we have to do. The lake is time, all time, in every direction, all time, in every place, all time. And that each stone tossed into time, seeing that stone disrupt the surface that we can see, but recognizing the same disturbance or generation of energy that we see on the surface is happening all the way down, even if we can't relate, even if we can't see it, even if it's unfathomable to us. Recognizing that this event, aka stone, is having an infinite impact on time. And that if you want to get more deep about how to create teaching time this way, that if you, so say you have a still lake and you throw one stone, you're going to see these cute little circles reverberating out all the way from where the stone penetrated the water. Well, what if you have two stones? One, bump, bloop, bloop, two stones. You're going to have two separate waves that are always going to be perpetually crossing each other. This is the impact of one event over the other. You're not going to see one set of rings from the rock and another set of rings from the other, and they don't touch each other. They're still in the same body of water. They're still in the same system of time. And so there's always going to be overlap and impact from one event to the next, and seeing and having the ability to teach time that way. The reason I went off on that, because I know right now y'all probably lost. Why she talking about this? Because, you know, I've been talking about, we talked about at length, ad nauseum, when we read Pure Lust, about the work of the Fates is to redefine time, right? The work of the Fates is to create all new language, blah, 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 right? I'm always talking about, even the book we just read a little piece of, The Webs of Power. It is related, again, to how we see time, how we tell the stories of time, and the impacts that these historical events. So now we're talking about one rock, two rocks, but what about the endless, incalculable rainstorm that has the same impact on the lake, aka time, and the rings that are caused by each drop of water that hits the lake? You feel me? Now you see multiplicity of disturbances. How do we teach time this way? How do we teach events in human history this way? And the inevitable overlap of every single event and occurrence, not just event and occurrence, the overlap and the inevitable impact of every single birth on the whole and everybody in the whole. That's how we have to teach time. That's how we have to teach time. So going back to this 9-hour live, me sitting here today, rewatching based on the timestamps that you left on this live, making my listening much more easy, much easier. The one thing that I kept going back to was the two-faced nature of Jesus. The two-faced nature of Jesus, and why it is so important to see it that way. Right now, I know, you know. And so the thing that I started on today was because there was a timestamp in that section where I'm talking about, we're reading from the Women's Dictionary of Symbols and Sacred Objects, and I forget what symbol it was. Somebody remember what symbol it was when she was talking about when she was talking about how the oath, she was talking about she was talking about Zeus. She was talking about why it was important, particularly what was the symbolism of Zeus giving birth to Dionysus from his leg. Remember that section we were talking about? Why was it important for Zeus to give birth to Dionysus from his thigh bone? Like, why that is, right? And why was it important for Xena to spring from his head full grown? Like, what's up with that? And we talked in relationship to that, to like the history of particularly the Celtic headless cults, the cult of the headless in Celtic tradition, right? Like, what is it that connects these things, and what is it we missing? What is it that we're missing? So we went into that whole thing about how based on Zeus based on the mythology of Zeus giving birth to Dionysus from his thigh bone, and how this became the basis of, quote, male deities' ability to, quote, generate life without sex with a female, right? And how their closed thighs, because their testicles, rest at the junction of their closed their closed thighs, and that their males' closed thighs in these mythologies became synonymous with the birthing potential of the mother, right? And how the reason that the testicles became so important is because of these mythologies. The testicles became the basis through which oaths were made between males, and how it was, she was basically saying how it was customary for two men, quote, engaging in an oath to, quote, consecrate the oath, if you will, by swearing, like taking the other man's testicles in his hand, and the other man take your testicles in his hand, and y'all cuff each other's testicles. And this became a symbol of swearing this oath on your potential descendants. You swear on the future males of your line. Like, this was serious, to cuff some man's testicles and say, I swear this oath on my male descendants. And how I was speaking about it within the context of these sacred societies swearing these oaths forever and ever and ever on their male descendants. And this becomes the basis for the reason of secret societies, and how these secret societies were able to maintain a relative what's the word I want to use? This was how they were able to maintain an allegiance to the oath. Every time a male child is born, the blood oath is renewed because of his mother's blood. The blood oath made on the patriarch of their family's testicles, swearing on our unborn offspring, our unborn male offspring, that every time this male child is birthed through the pain of the birthing ritual, his mama, the oath is reconsecrated. The covenant is renewed between these two males. This becomes the basis behind me telling you in the same live, like, y'all think it because it's presented to you this way, the spookiness of how these males who have not deviated from age old oaths, they have not deviated from the plan, they have not strayed from the mission. And this guarantee is based on these ancient oaths that they have made, to be committed until the end to this vision. And so I'm saying what's presented to you as, quote, the evidence of prophecy and spookism and shit. Like when I was mentioning about how for a long time people was talking about Donald Trump, and how there was a book written in the late 1800s, and the name of the book was Baron Trump, about this child. And oh my God, his story is so similar to Donald Trump, this and such, right? Or how I said, do y'all think it's just some magical prophetic mystery that Elon's name is in the Old Testament and Obama's name is in the Old Testament? I said, do y'all think that's just some spooky coincidence and it's the evidence of prophecy fulfilled type of shit? Because that's what they want you to believe. That's the way they want you to receive it. But I'm saying these sacred oaths that these men in power have not deviated from, not only have they not deviated from, they have passed down from father to son, and the oath is renewed. So when the son, as the disciple of the father, transferring this secret information from father to son, and then they go into these institutions and become members of institutions like the Skull and Bones, of which every president except one, I believe, were members. I said, if they're that strategic in the passing of this hidden information that they have to keep from generation to generation to generation, what's the purpose of them keeping a commitment to these oaths made well before they was a glimmer in their mama and them eyes? And is this, and so do these stories like the Trump book written in the late 1880s, the 1880s, and Elon's name, though supposedly he's not Jewish, he's got a biblical, a Torah, actually, a Torah biblical name, and Obama got a Torah biblical name. Is this just coincidence, or is this prudent planning? It's not a coincidence. Not when every last one of these men have had ties not only to these secret organizations, but ties to the state. This is how they plan. Generations ahead. This is how they plan. Decades ahead. This is, I told you in the book, The Grand Chessboard, Brzezinski was like, look, don't nothing happen on earth that we have not planned at least 25 years in advance. Not a president, not a mayor, not anything political that happens in this country in particular without at least a minimum of 25 years in advance that we've planned this occurrence that you think you just took part in, because the electoral process is so dynamic and like none other in the United States. That yes, his mama, Obama's mama, was CIA. So is it really a coincidence that she would name a mixed race child growing up in a white family, because they weren't married, her and his daddy, you feel me? And he Kenyan, you feel me? And is it hard to believe that because the Bible is an organizational manual, the Bible is a blueprint for conquest, and in the Bible are these names of very specific characters that represent very specific archetypes that they will use to name their offspring, to alert the others that this is a peculiar and particular time where we all must be based on this blueprint for the implementation of and the maintenance of empire. But you read it literally, so you're like, oh my God, it's the sign of the times. Oh my God. Not that it is the execution of a very age-old long plan, strategically laid out with blueprints that are never deviated from, because these are blood oaths, and these dudes are serious about blood oaths to the point that if you deviate from the oath made on your head before you ever existed, if you deviate, death is the consequence. Death is the consequence. So the first thing I started with today I was like, because I'm always talking to you, at least for the last 3 weeks, I've been talking to you off and on about being able to recognize the illusion of separation wherever it comes up, wherever it emerges, being able to recognize in the moment, oh yes, this that I'm looking at right now is the evidence of the illusion of separation. We started out by talking about the illusion of separation with a grandly effective illusion of the separation of church and state. That's how we very first started this conversation, was me demonstrating to you that the illusion of the separation of church and state has been an extraordinarily effective tactic and tool of empire, particularly the American face of empire, right? And so I wrote this down today, just listening to this part in the live that I did. The illusion of the separation of church and state. So I just put the illusion of separation and the different ways that I want to eventually go deeper into about the illusion of separation. So I put the illusion of separation, ... of church and state, ... of the Abrahamic religions in particular, ... of Zeus, Hades, and Poseidon, ... of the working class, the middle class, and the upper class, ... capitalism, socialism, and communism. The illusion of separation amid them all. The illusion of separation amid them all. So what I did today was start with this story that I was reminded of from this 9-hour live about the oath taking on the testicles. That shit was deep to me. And I feel like we just skimped the very surface of what could be a whole ass deep dive. Okay. But as a matter of fact, what did I write in the, because oath, I started with finding the definition, the quote current definition of the etymology of the word oath. But in reference to that, somewhere where I wrote that in, I didn't write it, but let me do it now before I forget. Yeah, I didn't, but I meant to, and I'm now just remembering. So hold on, let me write it before I forget again. I was like, what is the basis of this like rigid necessity of oath taking or oath making on testicles to quote pass down from father to son? What is the historical basis? Um, hold on. Um, it's so deep. This is the reason that I got into this whole web thing, is because once you start with one tiny little subject, you can see the multiplicity of things that you've recently learned or talked about or whatever, and how they directly connect, even though that wasn't your intention, right? So anyway, I had been thinking, I'm gonna read to you about oath, and then I'm gonna stop there for today. But I had been thinking when searching the etymology for oath based on this, exchanging of the sanctity of the oath by cupping each other's testicles, and like what would be the basis or the foundation of this oath, given the fact that we have been learning together that patriarchy has absolutely left no stone unturned to simultaneously disappear the mother from history, while at the same time taking into itself everything that it disappeared from the mother. So it don't just bury the mother, everything that presents as specific or peculiar to the mother, we take that shit first, superimpose it on us, and then disappear it in the mother, right? So I was like, okay, within the concept of every expression of the father as itself is an outright, undeniable, straight up, very well unchanged plagiarization of every story of the mother and every personification. Taking that as the premise about the oath and its origin and importance, I was like, so what is this synonymous with? This cupping of the testicles to ensure the keeping of an oath through from generation to generation, right? And I am reminded of the fact that the more we learn in this particular age, the more we realize that our ancestors were not as, quote, ignorant or unlearned as we have been presented, right? That they were actually much, much more scientifically advanced and brilliant than we have ever been taught. That's being revealed every single day, right? Whether it's the finding of structures that we can't replicate or whatever, like, damn, they was really, 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 really smart. And why have we been taught that our ancient ancestors were savages and unlearned and this and that, and just wanderers and seafarers and shit like that? And so I was thinking about this. I was like, okay, so if we're constantly learning about how scientifically advanced these ancient generations are, then is it possible that the story of the males cupping each other's testicles to, consecrate oaths made between them, did they get the story from matrilineal societies that taught that the clan line was always from mother to child, right? The clan line, the clan connection, this clan and this clan coming together through the mother's choosing of a partner from this clan is what quote wed the two clans. That it was the mother's choosing of a spouse from another clan that wed the clan, la 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 la, and that everything passed through the matrilineal line, the blood of the mother. Then does this become the method, the methodical presentation of the reversal of that? That if up until that point, matrilineal, that you were named by your mother's line, you were identified by your mother's line, by the mother clan, right? That this is the way, and subsequently through patriarchal marriage, that everything began to slowly shift from the matriarch, because what this did is not only destroy individual women, what it did was sever the greater groups, familial lines to the clan by destroying the matrilineal line through blood in the clan. And is this the basis? This oath taking ritual, is this like the ripoff of this transferring of blood lineage from the mother to the father? Because these oaths are made on your future seed, on your future male children. Also, we talked about in the past. And the other aspect of that is with people of the world being, quote, the discovery of people being much more scientifically advanced than we previously thought. Did they know about the mother blood? What we call the mother blood was what? The mitochondrial DNA, which is exclusively from what scientists have begun to identify as the mitochondrial Eve, right? And so I was like, damn, is this their method of ripping off this very scientific understanding of the fact that the only mitochondrial DNA comes to each of us from our mothers? And we all have it, but the only people that transfer that mitochondrial DNA is the mother to the children, right? Is this their way of replicating this story while at the same time minimizing its significance? They make an oath because their whole thing is about elevating the spiritual, elevating the idea, elevating, everything that's intangible, because that is a representation of the Father, and demoting the significance of anything that is material, anything that is matter, right? And so the blood is the most yin. The blood is the most yin of all the substances. The blood is the most yin. And so to diminish that whole, blood thing that you give to your children, it really is about the spiritual aspect. And you begin to see this everywhere in Father God, religions, is pervasively in every space. Everything material or matter is insignificant and is insignificant and subordinate to the immaterial, to spirit, to ideas, to quote energy, right? In this attempt to constantly sever the necessity, the necessary relationship between energy and matter. Okay, all right. So that's what I was thinking. So let me tell you what I read about the word oath in etymology and in definition, which I found very fascinating. So definition: a solemn pledge or promise that invokes a deity, a ruler, or another entity to attest to the truth of a statement or sincerity of one's desire to fulfill a contract or promise. Second meaning: a statement or promise which is strengthened or affirmed by such a pledge. Number three meaning: a light, irreverent, insulting appeal to a deity or other entity. Fourth meaning: a curse or a curse word, i.e., bloody oath or fucking oath. A bloody oath or a fucking oath. Y'all. I said, what? Anyway, right? And so then another definition associated with oath is excuse me, invoking a divine witness or regarding one's future action or behavior. So those are the definitions. So then I went to the Hebrew meaning of the word, or the Hebrew etymology of the word oath. This is deep. So the word oath is closely related to the word shivuya, shivua, SHE.VU.AH, shivua, and it means related to the number 7. The word oath means related to the number 7. The word oath means related to the number 7. Okay. Shabbat or Sabbath, or Sabbath, which is, or Shabbat, which is related to the number 7, is Sabbath. A week in Hebrew is known as, is also known as Shavuah, which means, which is a week. Pentecost, the word Pentecost, which is translated to Shavuot or Ot, Shavuot, Ot, also is a holiday which is celebrated a day after counting 7 weeks from the Passover, which equals the 50th day, 7 times 7 plus 1, on which the Pentecost is celebrated. Oath is historically connected to the holy number 7, considered holy and binding. Beersheba, so the story of Beersheba is a story in the Old Testament or in the Torah, which is now a major city in Israel based on an oath made between Abraham and Abimelech, or Abimelech, Abimelech, an oath made between Abraham and Abimelech, however you pronounce that, which means the name Beersheba, which is the oath. Okay, that currently is a major city in Israel. The word means, quote, the well, like WELL, the well of the 7, the well of the 7. This is according to Genesis 21, 22 and 30, 22 through 32. The oath, like the week, is a, listen, y'all, God damn it. The oath, like the week, is a circle. The oath, like the week, is a circle that begins when taking the oath, and ends when it is fulfilled. Listen. The oath, like the week, is a circle that begins when the oath is taken and ends when the oath is fulfilled. The Bible warns to use the oath carefully, according to James 5 and 12. The word Shivuah, oath, is mentioned in the Bible exactly 7 times. 2 times in the Old Testament and 5 times in the New. Okay, hold on. Then let's see. The other word that came up in this same section of study for myself was the word logos, which we are very familiar with. So logos in the Bible is a reference to, quote, word, capital W, like word. And so in the Bible, in the beginning, it says something to the effect of, I forget, but anyway, so logos etymology is originated in the 1580s. It means or refers to, quote, the divine word, which is capital W, which is the second person of the Christian Trinity. The second person in the Christian Trinity. The word, so in the Greek origin of the word logo or logos, it means listen, Y'all, the Greek origin of the word logos literally means to collect or to gather. To collect or to gather. Why is that important? Why am I having a moment? Because I forget which one of you, we have to write it down and put your name next to it. Which one of you said during the reading of this, or during the live, the 9-hour live, that the etymology for the word Tesla meant harvester. The word Tesla, its etymology meant harvester. And we talked about in that same section about how any good Christian knows that the primary work of a good Christian is to what? Participate in the harvest of souls. Isn't that what we taught? And how when Jesus come back for his church, aka his bride, it will be likened to the harvest. Isn't that what we told? We good Christians when we was that? The harvest. And here the etymology for the second person in the Christian Trinity. Who is the second person in the Christian Trinity? Jesus is the second person in the Christian Trinity. That the Greek origin of the word logos literally means to collect or to gather. Jesus is logos. Quote, word manifest. Jesus is word manifest. Okay. He is, quote, as the word manifest. Jesus as logos is, quote, God in the world. God in the world. This is mentioned, the word logos is mentioned 330 times in the New Testament. 330 times in the New Testament. Okay. And then the Hebrew etymology for the word logos is actually translated to davar, Davar, which means a word, a thing, or matter. And they had matter capitalized. Word is a thing or matter. Okay. And so I put in parentheses next to it, is this the original basis behind the idea of, quote, thoughts become things? Thoughts become things. Is this the basis of it? God in the world, Jesus manifest as the word manifest? I digress. Okay. Thoughts become things. Thoughts become things. Okay. And so let me pull out, because I took notes from Symbols and Sacred Objects. So on page 5, for those of you who are following, the Women's Dictionary of Symbols and Sacred Objects, on page 5, under what is actually the partial picture of our logo, the temple's logo, which is called the cosmic egg. If you go down to the end of the second paragraph, where it says let's see. Actually, just start on the second paragraph where it says the cosmic egg. The cosmic egg of mythical iconography carried all Arabic numerals and alphabetical letters combined within an ellipse to show that everything that can be numbered or named is contained within one form at the beginning. The cosmic egg thus becomes a substitute for the logos and an expression of the primum mobile, where deities are created by human symbols. Listen, this, because I'm not going to pull the picture down, but this, for those who have not seen it yet or do not know, because so many of y'all are new, and I have a painting of it. But this is the symbol of the temple. This is the logo of the Temple of Evolutionary Emergence. It is the cosmic egg. So this is the cosmic egg in the center. It is the sigil personification of the cosmic egg. And then this, and it is enclosed, or the Ouroboros is wrapped around it. So this is like my interpretation of what is common on like the web. If you Google images of the cosmic egg, what you will see is an actual egg, like an actual looking chicken egg with a serpent wrapped around the body of the egg and its head up on the top. You'll see an actual egg with a serpent wrapped around it. So this is my, interpretation of that image, the actual egg with the serpent wrapped around the body of the egg. And so I took this symbol, the cosmic egg, as a sigil, right? As a sigil, and then enclosed it with the Ouroboros for the same energy. The significance of the cosmic egg here as logos is that it becomes a substitute for, quote, the logos. What do we say the logos is? Quote, the divine word, the word manifest. It becomes the expression of the primum mobile, where deities are created by human symbols. Deities are created by human symbols. According to the Egyptian ritual, the whole universe is the egg conceived in the hour of the Great One. So that's page 5, reference to the word logo. There's a lot of references, so follow me. And then the next one is page 99. And this is under the Om symbol, which I'm sure everyone is familiar with. It is the sigil representation of the third eye, or the third eye chakra. So the Om symbol, there was something significant in it. Hold on. Yes. So the Om symbol, what did I mark? My eyes, man. Oh. Okay, so I went all the way over. I actually go down to the under Om, and it says, this is like the third paragraph. It says, Oriental teachings surrounding the Om as, quote, creative word were the true roots of the Christian doctrine of the Logos, the word of God that was supposed to have made the world and to have become incarnate in Jesus. Before it was Christian, this doctrine was Greek. The Hermes was the logos of Zeus. And before that, it was the common property of the Mesopotamian gods like Marduk and Enlil, who claimed to create by the power of their words. It was also the doctrine of Hekau, words of power, in or Heka, words of power in Egypt, where it was under the jurisdiction of the crone goddess Heka or Hecate, Heket or Hecate. Priests of the male gods seized eagerly upon the idea of creating by a word because it avoided the difficult problem of assigning creativity to a non-birth giving entity. Thus, the logos became a prominent part of nearly every patriarchal religion. Okay. You can read the rest of that later. The next page that we're going to go to is page 117. Oh my God. Woo. Let's see. I'm just going to read this little it's under alphabet, which is a whole great section to read, but I'm only going to read this little piece, right? Written letters were symbols of logos power. That is the power to create the world by means of words. That is why the 50 letters of Sanskrit alphabet appeared on the necklace of skulls worn by Kali Ma, perhaps the oldest goddess of creation. These letters were Maktrika, the mothers, which brought all things into being when Kali formed them into words. Right? The logos doctrine is still extant in Christian theology, though the original idea of creation by the word has been made more abstract to conceal its primitive naivete. In the 3rd century AD, Jewish mystics spoke of the biblical smith Beelz, uh, Bezalel as an expert on alphabetical wizardry. Uh, alphabetical wizardry. He, quote, knew how to combine the letters by which heaven and earth were created. A number of symbols systems have been devised for alphabetical letters. Here is one for the English alphabet in its present, and we went over that the other day. Okay, so the next page is page 205. Which sent me on a whole nother wormhole. The whole 2 pages. Under Hermes, under the Good Shepherd, under the Hermetic Cross. Yeah, this whole 2 pages is really off the chain. Which we can go over some other day. But the one thing I wanted to read to you in response to this section is on the Hermetic Cross. And on page 205 at the top, the Church of St. Peter now, let's see, the Church of St. Peter now stands, blah, 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 blah. Early Christians viewed Hermes as a Christ-like figure. From Hermetic worship, they borrowed the logos spermatica. Listen, from Hermetic worship, they borrowed the logos spermaticos, or seminal word. Cupping oaths made on the cupping of testicles, aka semen, aka seed. And then here you got the logos spermaticos, or seminal word. The word becomes flesh, the word manifests. But instead of the importance being placed on the uterus, is being placed on the semen, the seminal word, that the pagan god incarnated, and they applied into their own savior, blah, blah, blah. Yeah. Okay. And what else? What other page? Oh, and 307. This is the last page. Oh my God. 307. Yeah, here it is. This is mind blowing, and this is gonna be this might be my next workshop, my next actual in-person workshop to teach, because it is a bit of a soapbox. This is on the section of chakras, right? This is what I was having a moment about earlier, because it is so directly related to what I presented to you as the cards, like the tarot cards, and then the subsequent reading from the Webs of Power. And I was having a whole ass moment, gagged, because this thing on logos and oaths sent me to this page 307 about chakras, and listen to what it say. Okay, so you're going to go on page 307 at the level at the second paragraph on that page, at the level of the larynx. The level, listen to this, y'all, because I was up in here having a whole ass moment. Okay, at the level of the larynx comes the Vishuddha, purification, ruled by the hermaphroditic figure Ardhana Risvara, the hermaphroditic figure of Ardhana Savara, okay, which is Shiva and his Kali Shakti united in a single body. Thus, male and female powers merge at the level of speech. Okay, listen, the sheep. Now, why? There are several reasons that's significant, but the thing that stands out right away is that Shiva, even though he was, grafted from his mother's image, and in the story placed as, quote, an equal husband to Kali, in this image of the hermaphroditic Svara, Shiva, and Kali Shakti united in a single body. Shiva and Kali Shakti are both the destructive aspects. They're in their destructive aspects, right? They're in their destructive aspects, and that this hermaphroditic energy of of Shiva and the Kali Shakti um, represent the male and female powers merging at the level of speech, the creative logos. This chakra is called literally the gateway of great liberation. God damn it. Listen, like God, when we read that little section from the Webs of Power, and she was talking about the importance of not being silent and the power of words and all of that, and then our card was saying, speak only of a world worth fighting for. Speak only of a world worth creating. That where I do not see beauty, I supply it. Right, all three of those cards talking. Why? Because I told you that the arrow suits is about the power of words, the intention of words spoken, what is being loosed when we use our mouth. And here it says that the chakra, quote, the throat chakra, the Vishdhata, the Vishuddhata, which is the chakra of purification, that this chakra is literally called the gateway of great liberation, y'all. The gateway of great liberation. Woo! Its sign has 16 purple petals and a white yoni yantra containing the full moon. The sixth chakra is Anya, right? Which means command, the creative logos activated. The creative logos activated, right? It is located between the eyebrows and the place of the third eye of insight. Its sign has two white petals, and the full figure of the goddess holding a book, a drum, a skull, and a rosary, and the white yoni yantra of the previous chakra, now containing a lingam. When Kundalini attains this level, the yogi is said to be divided from the ultimate vision of the absolute only by something like a thin pane of glass. And then what else does it say? Oh yeah, I'm gonna read the rest of this, okay? Because it says then the seventh chakra and the seventh and last chakra is called the thousand-petaled lotus of light, or Shashrata, springing from the crown of life of the head into infinity. In the center of this splendid blossom is the ultimate yoni triangle, within which, well concealed and very difficult to approach, is the great shining void in secret, served by all gods. Served by all gods. Listen, in other words, the pinnacle of the chakras is the inner female spirit, triumphant. Listen. In other words, the pinnacle of the chakras is the inner female spirit, triumphant. The inner female serpent, glorified. The transcendent goddess whose final recognition is the cause of the adept's continuing state of bliss. Okay? These chakras are often mentioned without any frank reference to the obviously female orientation of their symbolism. Like many other pre-patriarchal systems, this one too has been claimed by the various male gods whose priests choose not to see it as a revelation of the goddess within each. In another sense, the word chakra defined the tantric circle of worship, composed of men and women alternately, each man with his Shakti sitting to his left and the leading priest and priestesses together in the center. Eating and drinking and sensual pleasures figured in the sacred chakra puja, which is chakra worship, and the chakra puja, the aim of which it was said was to make each participant feel as close to the goddess as to his or his to feel as close to the goddess as to his or her own mother. The circular form was intended to eliminate all distractions of castes because worship of the goddess had always been democratic rather than hierarchical. Listen, listen. This is the basis behind us saying Mommy and I are one. A beautiful description of what it means for the sleeping serpent to literally go through the seven gates of the chakra until, quote, creating illumination that we describe as the thousand petaled crown chakra that finally unites the goddess that lives in within each and every one of us in this heavenly union of the divine feminine and the sacred masculine. Child. Okay, hold on. Yeah, that was the last one that I wanted to read to you. And I think this is going to be the end of what I have to communicate with you, since now we are at 3.5 hours and 48 seconds. Okay, that's what I got. Hopefully it was a word. I will be working this week on the preparation for our solar eclipse ceremony / working conference for the week of the weekend of the summer solstice. As I am monitoring regularly what is happening in the city to keep a close eye on if I'm going to need to leave the city, if I'm going to need to go home until this madness is resolved. Okay, because like I said, it's probably good that I'm getting off now, because I still have to monitor what's happening with this, what is about to be an overwhelming presence of the Marines, the federally militarized Marines. We haven't seen the militarization of the National Guard since the Rodney King verdict in the early 90s, and the federal militarization of the Marines on American soil since the Kent State shootings in the 1960s. So, just monitoring what's happening in the city to within the next 48 hours to determine if I need to leave the city. And it's just that real. So anyway, I'll keep y'all posted and let y'all know what's happening. And hopefully you were fed from the word today and got something from it. And I will keep y'all posted. All right. Peace.